And welcome to another Money Spaces with me, Kaluaja. We do this every weekend, and of course, we're talking money, the economy, and of course, finance for about 2 or 3 hours. Just take the stories that happen all through the week and try to make sense of them, in a way that makes sense to you. How does it affect your wallet? But guys, if you're on this space, you made it. You survived 12 months in Nigeria. Inflation didn't get you, low growth didn't get you, you made it. You were here and you were just one day away from Christmas where there's going to be a lot of spending. But the good news is that you made it, and hopefully you're going to get out of Christmas richer, right? Richer than you came into Christmas after all that spending. We have a lot to cover on this space, a lot to cover. We want to talk about the new CNGN token that the CBN has brought out. We want to just also talk about the CBN audit. There's been an auditor appointed by the president to look into the affairs of the CBN under the past governor, Emefiele. We're also looking at Tingo, what happened in Tingo, and why is it important for you? Then we're going to look at NNPC, NNPC Refinaries. We heard they are now back working. How true is that? What's the impact of that going to be to your wallet? And finally, of course, inflation. These are my topics, right? You can always request for the mic and talk about anything you want to talk about, as long as it's economy, finance, and of course, personal finance and all that. We'll talk about it, but no politics, right? But you want to talk about anything else, you can. So let's get right into it, right? So the CBN brought out this new, it's a long guideline, lots of technical words there, but they brought out this new CNGN token. It's going to be live, the guidelines are already out via SEC. What does it all mean for you? Or what's the CBN trying to achieve here? And how is this different from, say, the e-Naira that the CBN already has? Now, if you look at e-Naira is a wallet, which means you go to the bank. If you don't have a bank account, you go to the bank, or on your NIN-enabled phone, you can download the e-Naira. Then you can load money and you can pay from that e-wallet. So the eNaira is more like a wallet that is used for financial inclusion. So even without the bank account, you can use eNaira to settle, receive funds. This CNGN token, in my mind, is more or less they want to create a stable coin. Stable coin, of course, meaning that the value is stable. So why do they want a stable coin? Because they are targeting the diaspora, that's number one. But number two, they are also going after the crypto market. All this is based on a new guideline that CBN has released to say this is how you will, if you want to trade crypto through Nigerian banks, this is how you should do it. So in effect, that past guideline where Nigerians or Nigerian banks were not allowed to trade or to settle crypto transactions for Nigerian customers, that has gone away now. There's a new guideline from CBN saying this is how we want you to settle those transactions, and that is now basically going to boost the inflow of crypto stable coins into Nigeria. So if I'm in Houston and I want to send money to my friend in Nigeria, what will I do? It's pretty simple. I can buy any stable coin that's out there, but I can also then send it to Nigeria or simply on an exchange swap that stable coin I bought for this CNGN token, which is dollars, right? So the CNGN will now be a Nigerian token that is going to be issued, which is dollars, because you're going to swap your dollar stable coin for the Nigerian stable coin, right? And then with that Nigerian stable coin, you can, if you want, exchange it to Naira at the Nigerian bank, and of course, your Nigerian folks can take the token or take the Naira. Why is this better than sending dollars or Naira? Well, because it's stable, right? It's dollar. Look at it as dollar. If you send in Naira, you're looking at the exchange rate here and there. If you send Naira, you're looking at the inflation. With this CNGN token, because it's a stable coin, they remove the inflation. Or should we put it this way? You only now have the inflation that exists with the US dollar. And you have the stable characteristics of any stable coin. So CBN is playing the smart game here to say, we're going to give you a way to swap whatever stable coin you have, USD or whatever, for Nigerian stable coin, which will also be quote unquote dollar. Why? So in this way, most of the folks that are on the P2P network now have no excuse not to come to the Nigerian side of the equation, because they can swap via the exchange and get the naira deposited directly to their bank account. There's no more go through third party. No, you can go direct. You want to import rice into Nigeria, you are in Turkey, you buy your dollars, you swap your dollars to stable coin, you swap that stable coin to CNGN. That CNGN money is deposited into your Nigerian bank. It's honest, it's direct, it is clear, audit trail, no wahala whatsoever. What would happen going forward? Watch out, you will then see that many Nigerian firms will start to quote prices in CNGN or whatever Bitcoin or whatever token. Because if I quote my luxury flat in CNGN, that's dollar, but it's legal dollar, but it has no inflation. So you're going to see most companies will start to quote you assets. Oh, if you pay 10,000 CNGN, that's the price. If you want to pay Naira, that's inflationary price. So this is going to be a way for Nigerian consumers to avoid the Naira inflation. Because once you hold Naira, you are in inflation. If I take all my Naira and I buy CNGN token, I'm good. That's basically it, I'm good, right? So you then see this dual currency happening in Nigeria, just like we had Zimbabwe, where they use the US dollar and the Zimbabwean dollar. You're going to see the exact same thing in CNGN token. And who knows where it's going to stop? You might have other companies creating their own tokens. You might have Nigerian banks creating their own dollar-based or dollar-backed tokens or crude oil or gold-backed tokens. And eventually, in a way, I think this takes some pressure off the inflation and the Naira. Because when there's no demand like that, like when all the demand has gone to the CNGN tokens or the dollar, it sort of releases the demand because now people can get funding. I don't have to go to a bank, more or less. I can swap, I can get those funds deposited in the bank, more or less. So I think it's a good idea. Let's see how it plays out. I'm watching that space very carefully, but it's a big, very, 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 very big deal, guys. Good deal on that. Let's go to the CBN audit. I mean, it's the audit. The president appointed an auditor to review the CBN books. The auditor seems to have concluded his audit and has presented a report. But as usual, he presented it to the media. I think it's on Daily Trust because Daily Trust has a few guys that work for the Tinubu administration. So they seem to get all these scoops. And they're revealing what the guy is saying. Oh, Emefiele bought some banks with some money. Emefiele took some deposits and put it outside the country. It's difficult to really understand what the auditor is saying without actually reading it for ourselves. The snippets we have seen look like a bit of sensationalism to create a bit of media trial towards an objective. For instance, the one that I saw yesterday, Amcon put money in a Nigerian bank. The Nigerian bank gave a loan to the guys that wanted to buy Keystone Bank. And of course, the guys then used the loan from that Nigerian bank to buy Keystone Bank. But the same report says that the loan was repaid. So for me, I'm asking, so what was the offense, or what rule did they contravene? It's a leverage buyout. You can argue that it's improper for a federal agency to put deposits in a bank and then the bank then issue a loan to a third party. But that's how banking in Nigeria has been done for ages. NNPC has deposits in many Nigerian banks, and those Nigerian banks then give a guarantee to another Nigerian bank to do a transaction, to do imports or whatever. I don't see the crime in that. It's bad. It's an abuse of privilege and all that. But is it a crime? I don't know yet. So that Keystone, all those transactions have to be looked at again. But I'm not sure the crime that he's saying that they've committed. But the one that does touch me the most, and it does touch you guys, is also the printing of the 23 trillion by the CBN on the request by the President Muhammadu Buhari. So if you don't understand what happened with Ways and Means, the government of the country, the federal government, can borrow from the central bank. But that borrowing has a cap. So because what happens is before your budget is passed, you have to pay salaries, you have expenses. So the laws allow the Central Bank of Nigeria to lend the federal government an amount of money before their budget is passed. But that borrowing is capped at 5% of the budget. In this instance, these guys borrowed or printed, that's the CBN, an amount of the equivalent dollar value of $50 billion. So in effect, CBN printed more than the total external loans that Nigeria owes. So You don't have to delve into it. It's a scandal of immense proportion. They were printing money, and no one can tell you what that money went to. That's the CBN was printing money for the federal government to spend. So the auditor is right to say yes, this needs to be reviewed. But he's saying that what he's recommending based on the report I'm reading, he's recommending. Let me say this way: when at the end of the tenure of the President Buhari's tenure, they went to the Ways and Means borrowing, which were unsecured borrowings done by the federal government from the Central Bank of Nigeria. They converted those borrowings to bonds. So they sort of like made it legal because it's now a 40-year bond. So you and I and our kids will pay it, right? They legalized that illegal printing by issuing those bonds. If you look at the federal government of Nigeria's expenditure profile, we are paying almost 1 trillion to the Central Bank of Nigeria because we borrowed from them. 1 trillion to the Central Bank of Nigeria. So we're paying more to the central bank than we're paying for health, education, and all that. 1 trillion. This is just half year of 2023, say January to June and all that. So it's an immense amount of money, and it's sort of like it was covered up, right? We printed money. Let's convert it to a bond, make it legal, and everybody moves on. The auditor is asking that we go back and unravel that whole bond issue. So go back to the Supreme Court and get them to cancel what the House of Congress did to basically make those bonds illegal, to make it from illegal to legal. If that happens, that's going to be a big blow because now who then pays that printing cost? The cost is more expensive without it being a bond. With it being a bond, it's cheaper, it's legal. Without it being a bond, it's illegal and more expensive. So what is the effect of that? We don't know yet. Again, these are the snippets we are getting. I'm not sure why the audit report is given to certain newspapers. If the report is out and you want to do media trial, put the whole report out so that every Nigerian can read it. We can come to this space, we can read it, and of course, we can reach a determination who was at fault. Again, guys, if you want to speak, just request for the mic. I've got 3 more topics real quick, and I'll get you guys in here as well. The third one I'll talk about is Tingo. If you guys haven't been following, Tingo that should be the biggest fraud of a Nigerian-based entity to date. So what Tingo did, you guys don't know Tingo because that's exactly the point. So this was an unknown Nigerian company that somehow got listed on the NASDAQ. And was trying to even get listed on the New York Stock Exchange. And they've been proving that the entire operations was just a big fraud. And the point with Tingo is that there are lots of red flags that we could have seen down the line to have stopped this. And everybody dropped the ball. The board of directors of Tingo dropped the ball. The chairman, according to the SEC complaint, was requesting from the CEO of Tingo, where are the numbers? Where are the bank statements? I want to talk to the entire department. And he never got through. So why would you be a chairman and you are requesting to speak to the audit committee, to the key financial guys around the company, and you are blocked and you still stay as a chairman? You still stay as a chairman. So there's going to be some trouble for that guy, I believe, because why did you stay on? If you felt there was something going on, why did you stay on? Why didn't you resign? Why didn't you write to the board? The guy had about, as quoted, he had about $143 million on his books. SEC says he had less than $50. The auditors gave him a clean bill of health. What was going on? So all this Tingo guy did was he created a company on paper. Then he created another company on paper. I'm being very simplistic now. He created 2 companies on paper. He posted that the company A was posting millions of dollars of revenues in Nigeria. And based on those millions of dollars of revenues in Nigeria, he then used the second company he created on paper to buy that first company for billions of dollars, instantly giving that first fictitious company a value of billions of dollars. Then he sold the shares of that fictitious company that had no sales but was valued at $1 billion to ordinary consumers, ordinary investors, who then bought those shares because they assumed that this company was a fast-growing Nigerian company. Again, what is the fastest growing sector that we hear all about in Nigeria today? It's fintech. We hear unicorns. So if I'm an American guy and I want to get exposure to the Nigerian market, where would I invest when I don't do oil and gas? I'll go to fintech. So when I see fintech, the largest economy in Africa, largest youth population in Africa, and $1 billion valuation, I don't think twice about it. It's a quoted company on the NASDAQ board. It has auditors. It has a board. The guy wants to buy Sheffield Wednesday. Why would I doubt the company? So I buy the shares. And that was the fraud, ladies and gentlemen. He was selling air created from paper, from thin air, $1 billion. Imagine if you had managed to put that company on the New York Stock Exchange. Then everyone would have bought it. The PFAs would have bought it. The American firms would have bought it. It would have been on Bloomberg. The first time I saw Tingo was on Bloomberg, not a Nigerian paper, Bloomberg. So Bloomberg even gave it that veneer of respectability. So the questions are, how could this happen? How can a guy just create a company out of thin air? What's $1 billion? That means I can do it. I can say Kalu company has a Twitter space that there are 1 billion listeners on Twitter everywhere, every Sunday. And based on my 1 billion users, I have valued Kalu space at ₦1 billion. Then I sell Kalu spaces to Kalu Mobile. So now Kalu space is worth $1 billion, and then Kalu Mobile has now bought that Kalu spaces. But look at the key thing here, guys. No cash was transferred. Tingo bought those companies with an exchange of paper. He exchanged shares. So no cash was transferred. I, Kalu, would buy Kalu space with paper. And suddenly I'm worth $1 billion. Then because I'm worth $1 billion, I can walk into any bank and request for $1 billion loan. Why won't they give me? I'm worth $1 billion and I want $1 billion. And I'm giving you the paper I created out of thin air as collateral to take $1 billion from you. You of course give me. Then I take your $1 billion and I just go to the Caribbean. Easy fraud. But why cannot I do it? Because there are auditors, there's a board, and I can't get listed if I did this. So it's amazing that this happened. And it's going to blow back on Nigeria. The stereotype is that Nigerians are corrupt. Thank God, in a way, thank God in quote, this was not a company listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. They would have come and shut down the NSE by now. It was listed in NASDAQ. How did the Americans miss this? So that's the issue. It's going to come back to us with a stereotype. But how did they miss it? How? Then if you look at the complaint, Nigerian banks were there. He faked the Nigerian bank's statement. But why did anyone call the bank and say, does this guy have this money? I have friends in banks. I can call them and say, Oga, off the record, does this company have this amount of money? And they'll tell you. So why couldn't auditors do the exact same thing on a NASDAQ listed company and say, do they really have this money that they claim they have? Crazy stuff. Last one, guys, let's stop at NNPC. Inflation is also an issue. Let's stop at NNPC. NNPC says that they have fixed the Port Harcourt refinery, the largest in Nigeria. What should that mean for Nigeria? That should mean that we should have more supply going. If we have more supply, the rules of economics say prices should come down. That's what it says. So for us as a Nigerian and for you as a Nigerian, right, we don't really care if the refinery is fixed. What we want to see is more supply, which should lead long term to lower prices, right? Less imports and a stronger naira, because now we should be importing less of PMS, which means less dollar, which means stronger naira, which means more local jobs and all that. So unless we see that, I don't know what we're celebrating now. I'm hearing there's phase 2 repair, this is phase 1 repair. Doesn't make, no one cares what phase of repair they are in. If we cannot get more products to the pumps and save the naira by reducing the import, it doesn't really matter if they have fixed it. I mean, if I say I fixed my car because I fixed the radio, does it matter if I can't drive that car from here to Lekki? That's a good point we'll talk about, guys. Let me get Mr. Jibril in. Mr. Jibril, thanks for holding on with me. Jibril Mohammed Balarabi, how are you doing, sir? Cost accountant. You're the perfect guy to ask my question. How is it possible as an auditor for a company to say they have millions in the bank account and nobody will check? Is it connivance? Is it incompetence? What's your take, Mr. Jibril, before you ask the question? Mr. Jibril, you got to unmute. I'm going to go to DMs real quick. Yeah, Kalu, wishing you Merry Christmas. Yes, I wish you the same. Merry Christmas ahead. I wish you the same. So, are you saying that? Let me just get your question real quick. Yes, so with Tingo, that's the point I'm making. With Tingo, he didn't buy the company for $1 billion. He issued shares. Let me explain again to you guys why the fraud happened. He issued shares, and with those shares, he then bought a company and he valued that company at $1 billion. So it's like if I have a car, I own a car, and the car has no engine. Then I sell the car to my other company, and my other company buys the car for $10,000. Instantly, that car without an engine is now worth $10,000 because that's what I paid for it. So a third party will say, well, this car was bought for $10,000. So that means the value is $10,000. That's the point. He didn't pay 10,000. He created a brand new company, then did a share merger. He used the shares of this company, that's Tingo now, to buy the shares of that company. He used shares of Tingo Mobile to buy Tingo Foods or whatever, and then he had the value of $1 billion. Once that company was worth in excess of $1 billion, he could then go and get loans and sell those shares retail to other investors who simply assumed that because this company is issued in the capital market, it's a correct company. That's what he did. Make sense? Yeah, it wasn't that he didn't have $1 billion anywhere. He valued his company as $1 billion and he sold it. All right. Yeah. Mr. Jibril, welcome to the party. What's going on? If you're speaking, I can't hear you, Mr. Jibril, so I'm going to go back to DMs as well. Yeah, Ms. Carlo, end of the year, can you give us tips on where we should invest or what we should look for in 2024? Good question. Let me pause, Mr. Jibril. I'm not really hearing him. So, I mean, if you're looking at where you should invest in 2024, I would say you want to look at where money is going to go to in 2024. That's how you want to invest. You want to chase the money. Where do you think money is going to go to in 2024? Or should we look at it this way? Where are the risks in the economy? If you know where the risks are, and you know where the government wants to spend money on, then that's what you want to chase down. There's going to be a lot of infrastructure spending in Nigeria. We have seen the federal government and the state government say they want to do infrastructure. And what I always hear from the Minister of Works is he wants to do cement roads. Ding, 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 cement. Who are the sellers of cement in Nigeria? Those guys are going to be a good way for you to put your money aside in 2024. The guys are going to sell cement seem to going to make some money in 2024 because they're going to do a lot of roads using cement. That's a very, very good one for you right there. Also, the guys that are going to go into the same fintech that was speaking about. Fintech is still going to be the growth area in Nigeria simply because there's just a lot of people in that space. And now we're talking about crypto coming back to Nigerian banks. We're talking about remittances. Lots of products are coming out. Lots of folks are doing it. So there's going to be lots of breakthroughs in the largest economy in Africa with the largest youth population that use crypto. So anything within that crypto space, anything within that crypto infrastructure, anything around that thing that is maybe selling or buying, that's going to be a growth area for you. I am very, very bullish about Nigerian banks in 2024 because they've made money in a down year. When there was high inflation, when there was devaluation, Nigerian banks made money. So I think that 2024 will see them even make more money. So I like cement, I like financial services, I like those two. I think they're going to make, they'll have a leeway in 2024 because of the expenditures that's going to happen. The risk for us in Nigeria is that oil prices do not go up. That's going to be a big risk. If oil prices do not go up, then consumption will suffer. So for you, you want to be very, very careful about buying companies that sell fast-moving consumer goods that Nigerians can easily do without. That's going to be a big risk for you. If we can get a cheaper substitute, Nigerians are going to go for that. And that's going to be a risk if you have that sort of company in your portfolio. But banks, infrastructure companies like cement, like steel, I like them. Felix. Mr. Felix, what's happening? Mr. Felix Barker, how you doing?
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Hey, what's up, bro?
Merry Christmas. Carlo, I just want to make my opinion concerning the CNGN token. I'm just worried that I don't really know if the Nigerian government has the dollar cash backing for it to actually make it something that is backed by dollar, because I'm just afraid that Hope won't have a situation whereby when people start buying the token, converting their dollar, buy the token, and Nigerian government now start telling you, okay, you know what, you're going to get the value in Naira. And by so doing, they printed 23 million Naira. So what stops them from saying, okay, you know what, people change their money, they request for a token, give them Naira that is printed in Nigeria, so there's no backing.
That's true. But let me tell you the difference, right? Nobody in Nigeria spends dollars. When you send money to your village, they spend Naira. So look at what I think CBN is going to do. CBN is going to say, just like they do now with the NNPC, CBN will say, if you are in Houston and you want to send dollars to Nigeria, use the eNGN token, because you know the value is fixed, it's dollar. So if I'm in Houston, I send to my Nigerian bank instantly using eNGN. So the CBN grabs my dollar. The person in Nigeria does not care to receive dollars. What they care is that the value they are getting from the CBN is the quote-unquote market rate, not the bank rate. They want to get the real quote-unquote rate that they will get if they went to the streets to buy dollars themselves, which is what the eNGN token will do, because it's going to be an open market. Because I can tell on my computer in Houston what the swap price for Naira to eNGN or Naira to whatever stable coin I want to buy. I can see the price right there. So I'm going to tell my mom, hey mom, I'm sending you $100. You're going to get this exact amount from the Nigerian bank. Not what the Nigerian bank says, but what the exchange does. So the dollars from Houston is what CBN will grab. You get it? And that becomes just like a bank. They grab that deposit and it becomes their own risk assets. That's what, because they're going to give you Naira, but they grab your dollars. Does it make sense, Felix?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. And Olumide is here. Olumide, just to give us more insight on this eNGN thing. I've spoken about it earlier. What's your take on it, and what do you think is going to be the impact? Hey, Olumide. I'm not sure if you can hear me. I'll tell you, give us your take on the eNGN and what the impact would be. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Oh, that question for me?
Of course. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. I had a narrative. Sorry, I was on transit, so I wasn't listening very, very well. But yeah, I grabbed most of the headlines. So pretty much, I broke the eNGN story, actually. It's not at the... let me say it's not yet official. So I think a lot of people are missing the conception. It's not a replacement. It's not backed by the dollar. It's not for remittance. It's not for... it's pretty much like a JPM coin. Now, you know JPM Morgan, the world most valuable bank, they also have a digital dollar coin that runs on the Ethereum network. But I'm very sure someone like Kalu that even stays overseas is not really aware of JPM coin. So it's just a complement of the system. And what they're trying to do is that if you look at the framework of the CBN, before President Tinubu took power, they included stablecoin into the financial ecosystem. They understood that stablecoin play system in terms of remittance transaction and opening doors in a country that has strong affinity for crypto market. Nigeria is far the largest African crypto market by a margin. Just between July 2022 and June this year, Nigeria transacted more than $7 billion worth of crypto assets, far more than South Africa, Kenya, Ghana. So what the Apex Bank is trying to do is opening the system legally and make the banks more competitive. But the concern here is three things. First, a lot of people are missing the idea that the CBN banned crypto. The CBN never banned crypto. And what the CBN just did was that they are opening the channels for digitalized securities. Now, if you look at the definition of securities under the Security Exchange Commission, it must be something that is backed by an asset and has a source. And that was why a lot of us were confused when they said Bitcoin was a security, because Bitcoin has no central authority governing around it. So we have an issue with crypto and Security Exchange Commission. Now, what the CBN did smartly was that CBN removed their hands away from defining which entity can have decision over money. But what they just did was that if you want to deal with the banks, you must have a security exchange commission.
Olumide, you are breaking at the important part. So,
and if you understand, I've been applying for licenses for banks before even the CBN listed this ban. It tells you that it's just symbolic. Now, but for the traditional finance is a big win because.
Okay, Olumide,
what JP Morgan is doing in the bond markets.
Can you hear me, Olumide? You are breaking up. We're missing you because you are breaking up. Let me see if I can maybe ask a question. Maybe you can answer it. So I get your point about the JP Morgan coin, but JP Morgan coin is just their internal way to move money across JP Morgan using a digital currency. That's what they're doing, JP Morgan. So it's used by JP Morgan to move money from America to Nigeria to Brazil to Japan. So that's what JP Morgan coin is. It's the exact same, like you said now, it's the exact same thing the CBN wants to do. So the CBN can say, we have money in JP Morgan, New York.
Yeah, it's not the CBN. That's what I'm saying. It's not the CBN. The fear is that a lot of people are saying CBN. So CBN is unofficially now because they've not confirmed it yet, but it's in the works. I can tell you from reliable sources. But what they're trying to do is that they are allowing stablecoin functionality in the ecosystem. The eNaira is not replaced. The eNaira is the major.
It's the wallet. The wallet itself is eNaira, like a wallet.
Not the wallet, not just the wallet. The coin itself.
Okay.
The eNGN is backed by the naira. So for everyone's eNGN, the concept is that it's going to be managed by a consultant. Now, the consultant involves tier 1 banks, fintech companies, and some consulting firms. I don't want to mention their names right now, but they are about 7 or 8 right now. So they will be managing the eNGN, not the CBN. The CBN is just facilitating the ecosystem. So when you say the CBN, I think a lot of people miss it because over the future, what they are trying to do is what you can see that you can use your USDC, your Tether. There are many stable coins. It's just that Tether and USDC is very popular because they are overly present in Binance, Coinbase, and other crypto exchanges. But we have other stable coins. So the CBN is trying to open the system. And opening the system, they are allowing blockchain technology to take advantage of the spread of Nigeria's financial
Olumide, what I think they're doing is that they're creating the Nigerian reference currency. Just like if you have dollars, you have euros, you have yen, but you have naira. If you're bringing money to Nigeria, you have to reference a currency. That's what they are doing. So what they are saying is this: we're going to have the eNGN as the reference blockchain currency when you want to do that swap. If you want to put the money in a bank, no, that's what I think they're going to go to. They won't tell you that, Olumide. You're going to go ahead.
It's very tricky when you use because, like I said, it's a complement. It's not like all the entities involved are not it does not involve all the banks. It does not involve all the fintech companies.
True.
So what they're doing is like Tether or Circle. So, for example, the eNaira works on the Hyperledger blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
The CBN can create the eNaira from the air because the CBN is empowered to print, to create funds. But the eNGN can't. The eNGN is just like other stablecoin. It has to be backed by an asset. But in this case, it's backed by the naira.
It can be backed by the naira. It can be.
Yes,
nobody will touch it if it's backed by naira.
The difference between Tether and the eNGN is that the eNGN has interoperability capability. Now, let me explain what that means. So, for example, you can move the eNGN on Tron. You can move it on the Ethereum. You can move it on the Bantu network. So you can spread. So, for example, if you look at these Bitcoin guys, for example, this crypto guys, for example, you don't want to send USDT. They'll ask you your wallet address. They'll ask you, is it Ethereum address? Is it Solana address? Is it Tron address? You can't do that with eNaira. You can do that with the eNGN. So the eNGN has a wider spread because it facilitates on the public blockchain. This eNaira does not allow that. The eNaira is run on the private blockchain.
Yes, but only the question I'm asking is that what backs the eNGN? It's Naira. So you are saying the Nigerians would move to Naira on the blockchain. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's just like
why would I go to Naira? Why would I go to Naira?
You can swap.
Yeah, why would I do Naira? Why would I do Naira on the blockchain? Why would I do Naira on the blockchain?
Can let me explain why you do that? So, for example, a transaction now. So I want to buy something from China, for example, eNGN. Yeah, you see, it widens the.
Only they continue. You are explaining. Continue your explanation. Continue. I want to buy from China. Continue.
The naira is not stable. It's not backed against the dollar, so it's going to widen the functionality of the naira. I understand the fact that people are saying that okay, but it doesn't change the narrative that the stability or the aura around the naira, but it creates more opportunities.
No, but the point I'm making is that Naira today, I can move Naira today on my phone. I don't need Naira to move Naira today. Or I can send you Naira right now on my phone as we're talking. So I don't need Naira to send Naira, even to China or to you or to Mr. Everything Satoshi. I can just move it to you. So again, I'm saying that this thing is, they're not going to say it's dollar because it doesn't sound right to say it's dollar. But essentially what I believe that they are doing is if I want to send money to Nigeria now, I will see and you said it now, it's going to be on Solana and all the rest. I will see that token there, which means I can move my token, whatever token I have, and buy that Naira token on the exchange legally. That's what I'm going to see. If I'm in Houston, I see eNGN.
But if you look at the blockchain functionality, it's not just for transaction. So, for example, it widens the bond market. So, for example, GT can say, okay, we want to open a security, for example, and in the eNGN will be denominated asset. Or an equity, a stock company can say, okay, we want to do it widens the ecosystem.
Yeah, but the point I'm making alone there is that but the point I'm asking is that you don't need eNGN to trade Naira. We already can trade Naira. So there's something else. There's a reason why they are going to the blockchain with Naira. This is the point I'm...
To be honest with you. Yeah, but to be honest with
you... You're going to come down only to just finish land. Olumide, go ahead.
Yeah, from what I've to be honest with you, from what I've seen, from what I've heard, and from what I know, I can tell you for free that there's nothing it's just what people coins do, the ecosystem that eNGN is going to do. Okay. And it's just going to...
Yeah, but if it, Olumide, your own words though, if it's a stable coin, then it can't be Naira. If it's a stable coin, then it can't be Naira. This is your own words again. If it's a stable coin, there is no way it can be Naira. That's the point again I'm making, that there is something else that is behind it. So it's going to come off as a stable coin Naira, like you said, the consortium of banks, like you said, to widen the use of Naira on the digital blockchain. All that is correct. But I'm saying down the line, where they are going to with this is that it allows you on an exchange to swap your stable coins for the Naira stable coin, which then inflows Naira directly to Nigerian banks, and the CBN retains that stable coins, which they can later swap for dollars. They are targeting dollar remittances from the guys on an exchange. Because otherwise, I can send you money right now. So this is the point. So let's...
Then the functionality of the Naira becomes... and that's why I said we have to be very careful about definition.
Okay.
The e-Naira has a capacity.
Okay.
The e-Naira, and you need to look at it that the BIS, PwC London, the way the Naira, it has online and offline capacity.
Okay.
CBN will never allow a private issuer take hold of the ecosystem.
Which is why they are doing eNGN. Which is why they are doing eNGN. I agree. That's what I'm saying. That's why they are doing it themselves, because they want to take control of it. Then they allow the private guys to run it. But Satoshi, come in. Satoshi, what's your take on this, Satoshi?
You
basically hit the nail on the head, actually. I've been waiting for this space to come up for ages. It's just unfortunate that I'm being indisposed because there's a lot I wanted to put in and chime in, right? But the TLDR is basically it's all about control, right? Because this is private blockchain versus Tron and all of those other guys, Ethereum and whatnot. And while I don't want to totally shit on the whole idea, is it does give exposure. It's better than the case we were before, right? But to just finally touch on security. Security is my main issue here, right? So the networks that these guys, why I'm actually up, is to just shit on the guy. Well, to applaud them, but to quite admonish them on the networks that they've chosen to run on, which is Tron, Ethereum, I think Solana, I don't remember the rest of them, but these are all centralized companies that could as well just use, there are better ways to go around this, right? And there's a lot of developers, hackers who are just licking their lips to just see trillion naira liquidity moving through this, and then they will just, knowing the inefficiencies of these networks, try to exploit it. So there's going to be a whole lot of exploitation on these networks. And I get Olumide's point of trying to paint a lot of beauty that could be utilized running this on a financial side. Technically, yes, they are correct. There's a lot of derivatives play that they can do that would seem efficient to them. All I'm saying is the CNGN, in my own opinion, might not have the network effects that they hope it will have. And I pray it doesn't have, actually, because it will just moving Nigerians to all of these Asian centralized
something I don't think anything Olumide has said is wrong. I think Olumide is giving us the facts of how they have written it. Yeah, the facts.
We've talked about
it. What I think is missing is that if you come to Nigeria and you tell Nigerians that I'm going to introduce dollar as legal tender, Nigerians will sack you. Nobody will buy that. The Senate will not buy it. The House will not buy it. Nobody will buy it. This is a way to do it, and I don't know why I'm going to say this on air. But what they're trying to achieve is they are targeting remittances. They are targeting the P2P market. It's going to be an avenue. If you're on a P2P space right now and you want to sell money to Nigeria, this is the way you can do it legally, faster and efficient. This is their target. Because they don't need, everything we have said can happen today without CNGN. So why are they doing CNGN? Because they want a specific market share of that P2P. The market has moved from DOM account and SWIFT and domiciliary account. It has moved to P2P. So the CBN is being very smart to go to that P2P market and say, listen, we have a better way for you. You guys are SMEs. You are doing in $100 million. Go to a recognized market that we, the CBN, will create with these partners and do your transactions there. It's safer. We are backing it. And many SMEs will move there. Let me just say the truth. Many SMEs are going to move from P2P to this new market. That's what's going to... So the P2P is going to go back to the quote-unquote folks that want to do their transactions without the oversight. Why would you be in P2P when you can do it on official markets, secured exchange? That's what's going to happen in my view. What do you think, Satoshi? Before I bring in Mercury.
I agree with you. All I want to know is Olumide's point, because I've heard him say this on several spaces, that is stable. The asset is stable because it is backed by a stable commodity, or is backed by a stable thing. And he keeps bringing up this JP Morgan coin as an analogy or an example. But to our context, right? What do you think of using an infinitely expansionary credit system to back another infinitely credit system? Because mind you, these tokens or coins are technically not coins. They are not coins the way we see them as, what's it called? These are just ledgers that can just be reproduced.
But the question is What
Backing up
else?
is something that this book can print 23 billion or trillion of. I
There's
want to know where that stability will come from. How this does not
there is
dilute
no
the market
safety.
anymore.
The safest investment on earth today is a 10-year U.S. government bond. The U.S. has hyperinflation. The U.S. has inflation. The U.S. trade balance is negative. The U.S. has lots of problems. But the safest investment on earth today is a 10-year U.S. government bond. The safest currency in the world today is not the Swiss franc. It's the safest franc. I mean, it's the strongest currency, but it's the U.S. dollar. There's a reason why kidnappers demand U.S. dollars. Even Iran, North Korea use the U.S. dollar because the U.S. dollar is backed by the strength of the U.S. military. They can enforce their currency strength. That's really it. So even though Bitcoin, Bitcoin, we say it is. You can the idea is that there is no, you can't overprint it. But what happens tomorrow if one guy switches up the Bitcoin? I know you argue that Bitcoin can be switched up, but we don't know how it was created. How do you know how it's going to end? Who can on his life here say that there's no end switch for Bitcoin? Who on his life here will say there's no button somewhere?
The people that understand the protocol, Carlo, and I understand where you're coming from 100%. And a lot of other people go like, what's you trying to go? But there's no need to really go that technical to really dissect. There's trillions of dollars, quadrillions, quintuple.
Yeah, but look at what Satoshi got what happened during COVID.
The guys at Schwab, let me finish. The guys at Schwab, all of the major CIOs, Wall Street, some of them have really looked at the protocol level to really understand that there is no kill switch, right? And most people will not look at most people will not go that level. They will just depend on the abstraction that some of these software wallets enable them to understand it of. Yeah, once you hold on, you will go on. I'm coming. I also have to shut up because where I am is noisy. But my point, Carlo, is until people really go deep to understand it on a protocol level, there will still be this level of whataboutism, what if, and this is the same situation. But some of the guys, the devs that did this whole CBN, CGN, whatever they are coming to do, is the devs are looking for better tooling. Obviously, they also incentivize not to use Lightning or Liquid or whatever. And also, there is this fear of, no, we want to be the ones to control, or we want to be the ones to know the guys who are controlling the network because of a kill switch thing. Even at the highest of levels, government levels, they don't understand the protocol that much. Or maybe the people that make the decisions don't understand the protocol that much. I would say that people should take their time. People who understand the Bitcoin protocol will not even use the eNGN. It's just for people who are crypto friendly, Ethereum friendly.
The thing is that again, let's go back to the economics of it. Let's go back to the
people that I hope will pay much more attention.
But, I got you. I got you.
Please help me with that explanation of how whether or not you see this causing more price inflation, the fact that more of goods and services will have to be tethered to this whole ecosystem.
Inflation will drop. Inflation will drop.
In terms of the fact that they can just willingly, arbitrarily create more of these.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What's the inflation in America? What's the inflation in America today? What's the inflation in America? It's come from 7%. It's now about 3.9. America.
Come on, Carl. You are listening to those guys.
I have to quote the figures now. What else should I do now? I mean, I buy milk here.
So you always take a picture of your food. You can use food price inflation to.
That's what I'm saying now. I'm coming now. Let me give you the numbers now. Obama became president in 2007 or so. Obama, right? From that year, they did quantitative easing. America printed trillions of dollars. Trillions. Did inflation in America go up? No, it didn't. Monetary printing will not cause inflation if you have the capacity to absorb that extra printing to productive ventures. So America used all that printing and they created their new industry, their new fintech. All those guys got cheap loans that allowed the fintech we are receiving today to exist in America. Look at the numbers. Go and look at the printing done under Bernanke when Obama became president, and then look at the inflation in America. It didn't go up. Inflation went up because of COVID, supply chain. Supply chain came, you couldn't get goods, so inflation went up, i.e., especially energy. It was an energy driven inflation. But on the whole, if you take core inflation, just rise in price, it didn't go up. But inflation went up in Zimbabwe.
During COVID, the Fed they put a shit ton of dollars out.
The data is there. We can't argue this data. I've given the data. Go back, go to Google, pull up amount of money that was printed by Ben Bernanke for QE1, QE2, QE3. The data is out there. Then pull up the inflation rate in America from when Obama became president till today. Many Americans have never grew up. Many bankers have never seen inflation in their lives. That's why that bank that failed, the Silicon Valley Bank, why did it fail? Did it lose money? What happened to that bank? You know what happened to that bank? The bank was taking deposits and it invested those deposits in the safest asset class in America, US government bonds. Why? Because there was no inflation. So it was getting 2%, and 2% was a good spread. But during COVID, interest rates went to 4 and 5%. So if you mark their books to market, they were losing money. But they did nothing wrong. It's not like they gave one loan to one guy and the guy ran away. Their books were clean. They failed because interest rates went up. The data is there. Don't argue with me. Go and pull it up. It's on Google.
I'm not arguing with you, but I'll just allow
Wasil should come in. Olumide is back also. Wasil, what's up?
Thank you for giving me the space. I'll speak to the eNGN token. I absolutely agree with Carlo, and I disagree with Olumide and Felix in the sense that what the CBN intends to do, what they're trying to do is that they're trying to trap the P2P segment of the centralized exchange. They need to trap that USDT, USDC, whatever it is, stablecoin, against the CND and not interface the CNGN with the bank. It's as simple.
Period.
Simple.
Period.
No any technicality there. They trap the stablecoin, which is as equivalent as USD. They have that and they interface it with the bank. So when you send from Houston, as Carlos said, you can pick your money in CNGN against the bank. That's it. So they're having a lot of inflow of USD coming all across the world, anywhere in the world, in a stable format. So that's what they are trying to do. We don't need to go on any technology, on a public chain, as you rightly said, on Tron, on Solana, on other chain. So that's what they're trying to do. That's where they are heading to.
Nobody's disagreeing with what you said. We are only saying that those are insecure chains that are OFAC compliant or are prone to being subjects of these unethical hackers because of how the architecture of those networks are. That's what we are saying, and that's what nobody's talking about. Nobody's saying that you cannot move CNGN. There's network effects. Will Nigerians leave USDT for CNGN? Is what I'm saying. And will they be willing to keep using CNGN if they are losing their billions?
I think Olumide wants to say something.
I think we are missing it.
Okay. I think can I speak to what you just said, Olumide?
But hold on. I think you are missing it. And you are missing it big time. Because, you see, when you miss it big time, you lose the narrative. It's not USDT is backed by the dollar or the currency of choosing. That's why you have the dollar, you have USDT, euro, you have other commodities, you have options. Now, the NGN, the concept of the NGN is still on the pilot scheme. So you saying that it's very wrong because you don't even know the ecosystem consultant, how they built or what I just did was that because the CBN broke the news, the CBN sent a circular to to banks about opening accounts for virtual asset service provider. But I was just trying to make people understand that it's not about the crypto market really. It's about digital securities. And we are losing the picture because the CBN in paragraph 4 of that memo want banks not to trade with virtual currencies on their account. That is clear. So when you are bringing that context, you are just saying things in a world of imagination. If you look at another paragraph again, now they give terms for virtual asset service provider to open account. You must have step license. Now, if you look at the definition of crypto assets, you see it's very difficult for an exchange like Binance or Coinbase to open. I'm not saying they might not open, but it's complex because their definition of crypto assets does not move in line with what many of these digital assets. So the major players now are blockchain companies, fintech companies, payment companies, and banks.
And again, guys, before Olumide, I don't want this space to become a crypto space. So we have to say what this means for the guys listening from Nigeria. That's what I want. This is what I want. Why I brought this up. I still say this. Whatever the protocol, what is going to happen in Nigeria is that you're going to find a way to use this NGN to inflow money to Nigeria. That's what's going to happen. And when that happens, the remittances to Nigeria from dollar will go up, number one. Number two, the naira will gain strength, number two, because you then have less pressure on the CBN side. Number three, what it means that inflation would moderate. It will now only be driven by the food side. The imported inflation a bit, I think, will come down a bit. What will happen is that you will see this duality of prices in Nigeria. You will see things that could be sold in naira being quoted in, whether you call it NGN or whatever, the people will quote you that dollar thing and say you can pay with this NGN is this price. That's what's going to happen in the country going forward. If you have dollar, you will reference it to that digital Bitcoin and you can pay or transfer. I don't have to trade. If I settle, I'm not trading. So most banks will simply settle that NGN in the vault. They won't trade. They will settle, they will transfer. Yeah, they will settle and transfer. It's not trading. So you see a bank will say, okay, wherever you are, you're in China, you want to pay for goods in China, no problem. Go to China or go to a guy in Aba here, deposit naira here, go to P2P and buy. You buy stable coin on P2P from your naira in the bank, you move to China. The guy in China will translate to that whatever and buy dollar. The same way to come back the same way. When you export your cashew nuts to Germany or to Vietnam, in Vietnam, you buy a stablecoin in Vietnam, you will then swap that exchange for NGN, you get NGN, you transfer to Nigeria at the market price. It will land in Nigeria. So you've moved that dollar and CBN gets that dollar. Peer-to-peer price. That's the real point I want to make to Nigerians listening. Dollar, again, with dollar is printed, they are printing 5 billion a day. The US government is owing 100% of debt to GDP. The US government is owing in excess of 100% GDP. But the question I ask you is this: if you had to pick a currency and you had to go to sleep for 20 years, you could not change that currency. You had to put your assets in one currency and go to sleep for 20 years. Which currency would you pick? That's the problem with the dollar. You know that the US, whatever they do, will defend their currency. Today, if you decide...
That's what gives dollar the strength.
That's the strength. If you manipulate your currency against the the US government will label you a currency manipulator. Why didn't they have aircraft carriers? Why do you think the US has aircraft carriers? To bomb you if you try to do nonsense with that dollar. That's why they have them. You can like it or hate it, but that's why they have them. All right, let's get yeah, I'm just giving you the facts, so Chris. It's not. I didn't build the US. I'm just telling you the facts. Do you know who Do you know who tracks fake currency in America? What agency tracks the fake currency in America? What agency in America? The Secret Service. Not police. Not police. So the same people that keep the president safe are the same people that track fake currency. All right, let's get Mr. Ote Omuta. Let's not do crypto. We have lots of topics on this space, and you can ask any question. It doesn't have to be those 5 topics. But Mr. Ote Omuta, how you doing?
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity. I have a question. You seem to have the view that the CNGN would attract more dollar into Nigerian market. My question is, what motivation would, let's say, the diasporas or the foreign investors have to begin to trade on CNGN when the other things that influence businesses in Nigeria is not fixed?
They are not. Look at it this way, right? They are already trading in naira dollar. The naira dollar rate is already, that swap is already happening. It's not a new transaction. The problem the CBN has is that transfer has happened outside the CBN. In 1984, 85, 95, 2005, 2015, if you wanted to buy dollar and you had naira, you had to go to the Central Bank of Nigeria. You can do money in your pocket and bring to your friend, but you literally had to go to the Central Bank of Nigeria. Today, you don't. There are people doing 1 million transactions a day, 1 billion transactions a day on P2P. So the CBN has done everything and seen that it cannot attract dollars to Nigeria because there's an alternative. Nobody wants CBN Wahala. So what they've done is now they've become humble, and they've said, we are going to go to that market people are trading on, and we're going to offer an alternative from us. There are many SMEs that don't want to be in that P2P market. There's a lot of fraud in that market. If there's a guy that go ahead.
So how does that affect the current exchange rate?
It will come to the CBN. Don't you get it?
Naira,
of course it will, because you that is again.
Can I pick up something?
No, hold up. Hold up.
So clear to me.
Why is naira weak? Because dollar is demanded. If CBN can meet dollar demand, naira will get strong.
Naira is weak because of liquidity issue.
Exactly, and this thing will bring in liquidity.
Solve the liquidity issue from the centralized.
Do you get it?
Places like Binance, places like Coinbase. So if they have their CNGN token, they are able to trap liquidity from the diaspora, from everywhere. And now, since this CNGN token will interface with the bank, is now legal that you can cash out your USDT using CNGN via the bank, and that solves liquidity issue. And hence Naira is going to appreciate. That's just
okay. I want to answer the question just first because the space is not about crypto.
Sure.
Now, if you look at the NGN market, for example, if you look at NGN on Binance, have you noticed what is happening? Have you observed since the time it dropped to at some point 800? Have you looked at the charts? Have you seen that it looks like there's a cap in the market? Have you seen that the black market is not sporadic, despite the fact that we have liquidity issue? You see, assumptions in the FX market is very dangerous, and that's why it's always very important for us to understand the narrative behind these things. These things are just complements, and it's not a big scale like what is not really so much like a force. What I just really wanted to achieve was that the objective of the CBN, if you look at their roadmap, Emefiele's and Professor Obiora, Dr. Obiora, the former deputy governor of CBN, they did a roadmap about stable coins that it will be involved in the ecosystem. So remittance and all those things are not even their major key here, because if you look at what digital securities are all about, you see they are widening the market. Yes, when you have a widening capital market, investments will come in. So I think we should just and let us wait till they bring it official, because right now
to his question,
to change.
Yeah, to his question, he was asking how the naira will gain strength. Let's assume that the NGN allows inflows to come in. Do you also agree that the naira will gain strength because there will be more supply of dollar?
I don't think it will gain any strength, because the issue is that they're not creating any new coin. They're not creating it. That's where people are missing it. Because it's.
But they are settling. They are settling.
Let him land. Let him
Hold
land.
on. Let me explain. So for everyone, CNGN is backed by naira. So you see, unlike the naira where the CBN can print and create liquidity and this is a private. That's why I said that if you understand how Theta works, how Circle works, how Paxo Gold works, you understand. So because they are accepting does not mean there's a creation here. There's a difference between a digital currency and a stable coin. That's why the central bank it has a different functionality, and that was why I said it's better we wait for the official. I just did in school, and the objective was also to create curiosity in the market and see. It seems like the paperwork they said some years back, it seems like it's coming to play. And let's watch what is going on.
Well, your scoop, that's the scoop of the year. Good job that you got that out. Good job, you've done that. And let's watch it. I like you said, we don't have the information to really to digest this. But I just feel that again that this is all targeted at P2P, and anything that attracts funds from P2P to CBN makes the value of the naira go up because it's a supply issue. Remember, there's enough dollars in Nigeria, inside Nigeria, dollar cash, physical cash. The problem is that there's no cash for CBN to settle those imports. If you open up the domiciliary account boxes today, I'm sure you'll get anywhere from 10 billion to 20 billion, which is more than what we are looking for to settle our obligations. But it's not a CBN.
Carlo, can we just talk about, lastly, the issuance of this token?
No.
If you guys know or can respond to that.
Because that won't take us into crypto land. We'll enter crypto land.
Because it's not yet official. And the entities involved are very sensitive in the system. What you need to understand is not the issuer per se, was the title and the objective of what they're trying to do.
That's the problem. You're not getting. That's the problem. They will not mention. They will not let you know the issuer. I'm telling you that they are going to dilute everybody. If you own this eNGN token, you deserve to get robbed. That's just all I'll say. Merry Christmas, everybody.
All right, guys. I hope someone else has a comment that is not that's going to be about the economy. I mean, we have a lot to talk about, guys. Come on, we have a lot to talk about. Look at Tingo. Look at the NNPC Refinaries. This affects your wallet. You guys are on Christmas. How much are you paying per liter? Let's talk about stuff like that, right? Mr. Waifo. Mr. Waifo, how are you doing? Portfolio manager, investment analyst. How are you doing? Go for it, sir. Mr. Waifo.
Yes, thanks for calling me out, Carlo. But I think just my own understanding of the eNGN, just briefly, is that firstly we need to look at the chain is going to pass through. It's going to pass through Polygon and the rest, and these are centralized chain in Asia. But however, what I want to be very straight on is that yes, it's going to tackle P2P. That is for sure. But my biggest concern is how is this chain going to be routed? Because of course it's going to be backed with Naira, which is very key for me. But what I'm looking at is how is this chain going? Because it's a chain, it's not a printing. So I want to be sure that these mining processes are going to take from what are the rudiments on it. Because it's one thing to say yes, you have a eNGN which is backed by Naira. Another thing is for you to be able to push volume into the blockchain, and that for me is very critical when we want to talk about this eNGN.
I still don't.
Waifu, you just answered yourself basically. So there's no mining in this ecosystem. It's just issuance because it's a proof of stake network. So they can just issue. That's basically what they know they can do and what they will least talk about. So because they are the minters and printers of this themselves, they can literally control the ecosystem how they see fit. So this is not a proof of work network. There's zero mining in it. It's just the usual.
It's a swap.
Expansion, credit expansion.
It's just for me. I keep it very simple. It's a swap. You're going to see that token.
It's a risky platform actually.
Okay, let's leave it. Mr. Obiora, Doctor.
Very, very evil.
Obiora Nnameka Onyeka, how are you, sir? Welcome to the party. We're talking lots of things here on the screen here.
You,
token, CBN Audit, Tingo, NNPC inflation. What takes your fancy, sir? And you're free to basically take us on that avenue if you want to. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay.
the NNPC issue, I think, first of all, I'm one of the advocates of the fact that NNPC today is still not independent. You know, when we passed the PIB, everybody was so excited. We thought they would fully unbundle the NNPC to be like the Petrobras, the Petronas, the Enox, and the British Petroleum of this world. But basically what we have is the same old thing. We removed the monkey and brought the dog back home. So it's the same thing that squashes in the home. As of today, the NNPC is still subject to the manipulations of the public sector. Remember, before Buhari left, he appointed the NNPC chairman, removed the chairman, put another one, and then Buhari left. Tinubu came in and removed the sector chairman and brought another person. So these are kind of purpose way chair that we have in Nigeria public sector arrangement. I have refused to allow it to work efficiently. Look at the Nigerian liquefied natural gas, the physical terms, the structure, the organization, and the whole shareholding arrangement. You will see that it is more efficiently run because the federal government owns only 49% and the private sector partners under a private-public arrangement owns 51%. So the modus operandi and the arrangement in appointing the board and management and those that work in LNG is different from NNPC. Somebody does not wake up and look for those that supported him during the election or for his brothers and sisters who are incompetent to put them as a sensitive position. In LNG, just like any other public sector-led group, just like in Indorama, you have to go through the process. You have to certify the technical requirements for you to work in any particular assignment. And of course, everything is measured. It's not something you just play on propaganda. So that is the problem we have. And for NNPC to function efficiently, like the British Petroleum, which was a public corporation before British government divested, the federal government of Nigeria must intentionally divest at least 55% of its total holding across the whole value chain. It's estimated that the total value of NNPC today, book value, is about $60 billion or $62 billion, thereabout. For the federal government to divest 55% will simply means to deep-pocketed private and public sector investors, either local or abroad, who have the financial capacity, who have the technical ability to run it, who will net in about $35 billion into the investment account. And again, the physical terms had to be rejigged. Look at what is happening in Guyana. Look at next door Angola. Look at even Namibia that have just discovered very huge oil reserve offshore. The kind of physical terms they put in place to attract investors. Even look at South Africa. South Africa does not have up to 1% of the kind of volume of crude we have in Nigeria. Yet, today in South Africa, we have refineries that are not owned by government with combined nameplate capacity of 4,000 barrels a day refining capacity, built by Total, by Shell, and the likes of them. If we look back 1965, when we had a robust physical governance and resource control regime, the first refinery that was built in Nigeria was built in 2 years, 1962-1965, under Tafawa Balewa. It was actually built by Shell and British Petroleum.
True.
Between 1975 to 1979, we built 2 refineries. The Warri and Port Harcourt was set up the same day. Babangida increased the Warri and the Port Harcourt by about 1,000 barrels a day within 4 years. So why are we in 23 years under this Fourth Republic unable to repair and fix NNPC and refineries after sinking in over 10 to 20 billion dollars, the one that is even accounted for? So now they told us 2019, they said they started turnaround maintenance program on the Port Harcourt refinery. Today, that they've completed mechanical work on it. Mechanical work on what? What we want is the refinery is working. And Nigeria has capacity to produce over 2.5 million barrels of crude a day. We did it in 2011. I keep on asking this question. 12 years ago, we are doing 2.5, 2.4 million barrels of crude and condensate a day. And were there no thieves in Nigeria then? Were there no criminals in Nigeria? They are where? So what happened over the last, as even at 2014, we are doing the same number, just less by about 200,000 barrels a day. So what has happened? The same, for the NNPC to function, I keep on and I maintain this. The problem with us is not the fact that we do not have enough reserve. We have proven reserve that can last us the next 50 years, even if we are doing 2.5 million barrels a day. We have enough gas reserve to last us, to power everything we want to do across the whole gas value chain. Look at Pakistan. Pakistan does not have any gas reserve as much as Nigeria. In Pakistan, with the same kind of demography in Nigeria, the same kind of poverty arrangement, the same kind of very close population and all those stuff, even landmass. Pakistan today, if in Pakistan across the landmass, they have over 3,220 CNG filling stations. They have over 2.53 million cars, why not CNG? Malaysia, the same thing. Singapore, the same thing. Indonesia, the same thing. And it's actually established that it costs almost, it is so far cheaper to run on this. If Pakistan, that does not have the kind of gas reserve, they have, and it, of course, there are value chain to it. From processing, either from associated gas, to storage, to trucking. We have over 25,000 fish that we can collocate the CNG fish. We can set up across 774 local government area. Under a industry can even help us to do it. Local government are working with him. Set up kit conversion centers that can convert, even if we're not converting the big cars, the Range Rovers, we can start with the Kodo Pace, we can start with the 2 4-cylinder engine cars. Those ones can easily run on dual fuel. You know, there are a lot of things this country is so blessed with. Okay, look at the CBN. What are we talking about here? You know, it's a very funny country. We always look for the low-hanging fruit to harass. When Buhari came to power, Buhari left Jonathan, left everybody, and was busy pursuing Sambo Dasuki. After wasting 8 years on Sambo, Sambo has gone back home, $2.1 billion. Nobody recovered anything. Desiani, they told us how she took $9 billion, how she bought a house, $13 billion. At the end of the day, nothing has come out of this jamboree. These ones have had their own. Yes, Messi is not whatever is coming to him. You know, I've never seen a CBN governor as terrible as this man. But let us face facts. Everybody knows that this guy did not act alone. There was a CBN board. There is even a low-hanging fruit that nobody look at. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, over a period of 5 years, these guys created, they went and printed by way and means 22 trillion naira notes, debts in the books of CBN. Illegality across board. Nobody approved it. In a nation where things work, everyone who was deputy governor in central bank, all the board of CBN, by now every one of them will have been facing an inquest. In fact, the man who took 22 trillion, Buhari, by now will have been in the gulag. Mm-hmm. Everyone. But today they are just saying us, they are just regaling us with the story. Look at even how very, very funny country. Buhari made a broadcast many times. I heard that he was the one that asked them to print new notes. Nobody's asking. The man who wanted, nobody should invite, nobody should push him. They've avoided Buhari for whatever reason. They've refused to invite him.
But Doc, the CBN Act says only CBN can print. And they give them the exact amount. Should we hold the executive that are politicians that want to spend, or should we hold the CBN?
Carlo, let me tell you where they come in here. Like I said, the board of the CBN on paper is supposed to be independent. Now, let us even assume they printed it. What did he do? What did Buhari do with 22 trillion?
That's a question I've been asking. No one has told me.
And the board did not print the money and put it in their pocket. They are not being accused of printing the money and shipping the money to Abo. Or shipping it. The money was printed and handed over to somebody.
That's a good point. It was given to the Ministry of Finance. It was given to the Ministry of Finance.
In a country where things are done properly, I tell you, heads will be rolling across board.
23
but
trillion.
We all know that they are just trying to tickle us, excite us, and the gullible ones are falling head on. You know, the media have been bought. You know, every time they are distracting Nigerians. We can't keep on being distracted. Look at the Tingo issue, the Tingo guy. I always knew that this bubble, when they told us the guy was worth $7 billion, I laughed. $7 billion. On what basis? What did he discover? What did he find? We know how Chinedu made $1 billion. Chinedu in 2005, 2004 traveled to US to go and study at Harvard. After he finished from Syracuse University, Chinedu, we all knew his track record. He was there in Nigeria, went to King's College. We left secondary school the same year. I know this guy. This guy went to do his master's. Along the line, he lost his way at the subway station and decided to develop an app that can enable people who are not even half as smart as he is not to miss their way. That was how Hopstop came to be. 10 years after, he sold it to Apple for $1 billion. He's $1 billionaire out of Nigeria that anybody can track his record of how he made money. And one person I respect so much. Not all these people involved in money laundering and round tripping, and we are clapping for them and calling them whiskits.
Obia, how could
time bomb waiting to happen?
But how could that happen, Obia? I mean, you're in financial. How could a guy do a swap transfer for equity, give a value for almost more than $1 billion, and get on Bloomberg, get on the Nasdaq, had a board, had auditors? I saw. How did this happen? Who dropped the ball?
Carlo, Invictus was on Forbes. Have you forgotten?
Yeah, but that was a small boy now. That's a small. This was also quoted. This was quoted. Stock exchange, Nasdaq.
And Carlo, if you look at it very, very well, you will discover that one of the things that opened him up was the Nigerian angle, claiming to have deposits in banks in Nigeria where there were no deposits. You can't make such claim in America or the UK. It's them to see. Carlo, one thing I love about your space is that it brings up a lot of things. We tell ourselves the truth. And for those who are naysayers, let me tell you, this country is a country that is blessed by God with the kind of best of human capital anybody can think of. Last time we talked about this budgeting of Abia State, and we were asking why would the man do 567 billion, and they forgot to look at the overheads and the assumptions. 40% of that money was to go on social investments, 20% on education. And I've argued this. Most people don't understand the part of education in the life of any nation. Look at Singapore. As of 1965, when Malaysia kicked out Singapore, Singapore was actually kicked out by Malaysia because they felt that they were useless. An island with nothing to show off. What did Singapore do? Singapore decided, first of all, to build on education. As of 1965, the literacy level in Singapore was 57%. In Malaysia, it was about 65%. By 2000, the Singaporean literacy level went to 97%. And that was the beginning of the wonders that is happening there today. The same thing with China. As of 1980, China literacy level was 61%. By 2000, they've moved it up to about, 2005, they moved up about 97%. They sent out their best mind to America, to Europe, to go and acquire education. Today, China can match the best of any nation in terms of technology. Then they used a time we used to mock them. Oh, Chinese product, Taiwanese product, they are fake. Today, the Chinese are matching everybody toe to toe. Go and look at the 10 most developed industrialized nations of the whole world. Literacy level, the highest development index. Literacy level in those ones are 97%, 98%. Look at the 10 worst poverty ravaged, illiteracy ravaged, terrorism ravaged countries in the whole world. Their literacy level is less than 60%. And that is why you see Nigeria, Yemen, Afghanistan, and the rest of them. People don't understand the importance of education. People like you on Twitter space and some of the guys on this can be able to analyze things and ask questions. Because you are not just educated by having a degree, you are educated by having an enlightened mind that can interrogate things. But I can tell you in Nigeria today, most people that parade PhDs are dumb illiterates. I'm sorry to use that word. They have no critical thinking, they cannot ask questions. For us to build this nation, education comes key. And that was why when I saw the guy putting 20% on education, which is even below university standard, I was excited. If every state in Nigeria, local government in Nigeria, federal government should devote 40% of their revenues, even if they want to steal half of it, on the education and health sector in Nigeria, in 5-10 years, this country will not remain the same. Education is one thing. It's one of the only key with which anybody, no matter how low, can knock on the door of the elites. Sound education, not paper one, not getting a degree. One, where knowledge passes through you and you pass through knowledge through not just the 4 walls of the class, but interrogating things on your own, starting to show yourself approved.
And again,
so,
Doctor, just
28% is paper inflation, Carlo. Inflation is way beyond 28%, and we all know it.
Doctor, just to correct you again, there is no nation on earth that the GDP per capita has gone up without an investment or an increase in the education budget. There is none. Google it and show me. There is none. Whether they spent it, waste, or they didn't spend, there is none. There is none. So let us park that. But let me ask you specifically. The guy I heard the Abia State governor, I believe it was the day before yesterday, speaking about bonds. speaking about the borrowing. Speak to me about revenue bonds, if you don't mind. Sorry, please, I'm going to mute your mic. Can you speak to me about revenue bonds? There was a lot of confusion last space we had, where we said debt itself, the revenues from the borrowing would fall. So how do you say? The revenues are going to come from the borrowing or the bonds he was going to make. Can you speak us more about, just to clarify things for us? I believe he's issuing revenue bonds. He said the borrowings are going to be tied to specific projects, meaning they're going to build a road, the borrowing goes to the road, and the borrowing or the revenues from that road pay back the bond. Am I getting that correct?
Yes, but if you look at it critically, Carlo, out of the 467 billion, 567 billion, only 92 billion will go to roads. And a chunk of that money will go on fixing some of the federal government road. And I want to believe that he will get a refund over time. I was also thinking that he will have also utilized some of the tax incentives, for those kind of roads like the Port Harcourt Aba Road. Of course, MTN chairman is Pascal Dossier. I would have expected him to have approached him and then leverage on that. But most of the roads are actually federal government road, which I know he will get a refund. Or look at the issue of agriculture. I pointed it out. He budgeted 5.6% on agriculture. That's about 47 billionaire. Most people have never. Somebody was asking me, "Oh, is he going to do peasant? How is he going to recover the money through peasant?" I said, I laughed my heart out because most people don't sit down to ask questions. I told you one of the things that OT had put in place was to revive the produce board schemes that Michael Obama did when he was premier of the old Eastern Nigeria. In Abia State today, the bill will always be ready very, very soon. It's going to be a private-public partnership arrangement. There's going to be a produce board in the state and across all the local government. I gave you another example. Abia State alone generates annually over 25 to 30,000 tons of cashew. There's over 6,000 hectares of cocoa farm in Abia State, and they intend to expand it to ensure that, and Abia State is a very good location for that. There are a lot of other PPPs that are trying to do by area of the palm value chain and all the crops that Abia also has a rice belt. Those areas that are about half year that are very close to Ebonyi State. Remember that the governor of Abia State launched establishment of a cottage rice mill of about 10 tons a day, and people were clapping. I was laughing my head off because what the governor launched can actually be replicated across all the wards in Abia State under a private-public partnership arrangement if he had thought it deeply, with the kind of arrangement OT is putting in place. That borrowing on agriculture is actually going to be like a kind of a equity investment that the government is going to put in place in some of the diverse PPPs that the government is going to run on agriculture. I run one of the biggest agro parks in Abia State, Southeast Farms. Abia State only 10%. Most people don't know. They have equity stake in that business. And interestingly, they didn't bring a copper. Most of even the money that we used to was, we practically had to leverage on the protection of the state to enable us have access to security, which the government of the day, of the former government, did not provide. And which the government is provided. Even the monies used to survey the land, everything was provided by the private sector investors. And one of the things that OT has going for him is the confidence on his ability, the confidence on his background. People know that if they bring in their money, they have a governor that can sit down and dissect it, a governor that will keep his word. I'm telling you what I know. I'm not from Abia State. But when you sit down with his Appendiara, when you sit down with his commissioners, when you sit down with his essays, you will see a people that understand the mindset of their leader. I come from Imo State. In 2015, I always like saying things so people can always fact check it. In 2015, in August, I was with the governor of Imo State then, Richard Sokocha. He was there. His son-in-law was there, who was chief of staff then. His wife was there. 27 local government chairmen were there. Everybody who was with Imo State. And I came with a group of investors that were willing to put in 100 billion naira cash into Imo economy across the agro value chain. One of them even wanted to leverage on some of the capped gas wells in Imo State to develop a 50,000 ton per annum fertilizer plant in his own bed.
What happened?
The structure, what happened? You won't believe it, Carlo. The whole thing was, everything was passed. To be fair to Rochas, he's one man who has so much good vision, but he doesn't know how to coordinate those around him. Rochas elected and appointed those that will handle each and every one of them. Those that will do this and asked us to follow up. Do you know what happened? 5 months after, we were supposed to work with a group from America that was supposed to set up the plant. And we were supposed to take about $20 million to set it up. And that thing will have been earning nothing less than $30 million annually into Imo State. Imo State was supposed to put it only 20% without providing a couple. 5 months after, we only saw on paper. Some of the operatives of the state went behind us. They've seen the numbers, they've seen the money, and their eyes became so wide to go and bring a group in Cambodia to do the same project. As I'm talking to you, 8 years after, that project have not seen the light because the Americans walked away, and some of us cursed them and walked out of the deal. As I'm talking to you, similar thing happened not less than 3 years ago. We bought an Israeli group that was willing to do a housing project, 2,000 housing units. I will give you instances, 50 hectares of land that they want to take away from the communities naked or where. We told them, no, we don't want, you cannot take community land and give to private sector developers to develop real estate. It was a PPP thing that we have off-takers, Nigerians in diaspora, supposed to be Imo Green City project, off-taken by most of medical doctors of the Igbo extraction from Imo State. We told them, the Israeli group we bought, told them, we cannot take people's land. We saw an example in Magodo, where you took people's land to go and develop private estate. The owners of the government, this community, finally won a Supreme Court judgment. Now they are tormenting everybody. We agreed, made the communities, okay, we're going to pay them some amount of money. Those in government refused. They started putting to us Land Use Act, how governor can take any land that belongs to him or he won't take. And we told them Land Use Act does not mean you can steal public land and convert it to one private sector investor to develop. Land Use Act simply means you take a land from the public and build a hospital and things that are for public interest. You cannot take a land that belongs to somebody naked and give to Nemeka from Okigwe to come and develop housing estate. It does not work. That is not the essence of the Land Use Act. Yes, you are the governor. Yes, you are this. You can take the land. But in the long run, we are no longer there. It will go to cause wahala.
Well, let me
and
ask
they did not listen to us. And we walked away.
So, I mean,
there are lots of things that OT is doing that others will have done, which they did not do. And I tell you, the greatest investors that we have in the Southeast are the diasporans. Not just the diasporas outside Nigeria, diasporas like you in Lagos, diasporas like you in other parts of Nigeria. I tell you, I work with some of these guys that plays in Aspamda. I know those that are in the trade fair. I know those at Ladebo, across even the day-day market in Abuja. Carlo, I tell you of a truth. If you want to develop a housing estate in any part of the Southeast that is so transparent, to get off-takers will be the easiest thing. But one of the greatest fear of our people is to have a governor or a politician they can trust, and that is where LXOT.
In summary, doctor, in summary, just to be fair to everyone, he's borrowing far in excess that we've ever seen before. But I noticed that he and Imo are borrowing the same. Are you this bullish of the borrowing of Imo State, or is it just an Abia thing?
Carlo, I'll give you an example. I'm not trying to patronize you. Carlo, if you come to me, knowing you the way I know I said Nemeka, I want you to invest in this, my project, and it's $100 million. And Carlo, you show me what you want to do, how you want to do it. You show me all the risk, dimension it, dissect it, and all that. I'm an investor. I know there's always a risk that cannot be mitigated. If I so much believe in you, believe in your integrity, believe in your capacity, I can close my eyes and say, okay, let me do this investment. But Carlo, if I don't see Kanko or Anene or Mondo Sumba, comes to me, even if he has one of the best proposals, Carlo, I will not invest my money. Because I know the character of that person is of all the 5 C's of credit lending, character remains number. I'm an investment banker. I remember one time I wanted to finance a retired general that I wanted to borrow from us. I was in the bank then, one of the banks. And the man said he was going to borrow $20 million. He was going to give us a floating platform that is worth almost about $100 million. And everybody was clapping. Oh, let's give him. I remember then one of my bosses asked me one question. Nemeka, see how everybody's excited. We have five times cover of the borrowing. Assuming this man decided not to pay, who is going to confiscate? Who is going to recover that money in the land in the IC, in the floating plasma in the IC? Knowing also that he's a retired military general and all those stuff, and nobody could answer that question. Who among you will go offshore to go and confiscate that asset? So character is what is happening. Yes, people are saying, oh, he's being too bullish. But let me tell you, by the time he opens up Abia State, by the time most of the, as at now, the revenue coming from the state may not be based on the books that were historical, may not be able to do this. But you forgot that we are not looking at the historical. We are looking at the assumptions and the numbers that may come in over time. I tell you, from the agri sector alone, from what they've planned and from what I know, Abia State can easily generate about 120 billion naira annually from that sector.
Interesting. I mean, it's been a good conversation with you, Doc. I mean, you've I don't want you to take much, but you've been a good conversation around state public finances. It's a big risk for the governor to borrow this amount of money. You've countered by saying he's going to invest in future, i.e. education, and the present, i.e. agriculture. He wants to do revenue bonds. The governor himself has said that those are going to be concessionary. I think it's a huge risk that if he pays off, might become the template going forward. This looks like a Marshall Plan without the US. It looks like a lot of spending without a backstop of who's going to fund the loans. Maybe the diaspora will step in after 1 year when they see guy is actually doing what he has done. I wish him the best. I'm going to bring you back here. I'm always here, so I'm going to bring you back here a year from today. I will look at Abia State, not because it's Abia State, but look at the fact that how could revenues from debt drive GDP per capita and how well they've gone on this journey that you've tried to.
Yeah.
I'll bring you back. But I mean, hang on. It's a good. I mean, same thing with the Tingo issue. It's a good topic we're touching on. But hang on, Sam. I'm sure somebody else would like to speak to you. I've got First Light here. Maybe he might have a comment or so he wants to make. First Light, go ahead, sir. We've been here for a while. What's on your mind?
Hi, Kalu.
What's
Hi,
up?
Doc. Thank you very much. Amazing. Everything you have said, I have gone through that circle. And the only part I have issue, Doc, is the fact that we seem to forget that Alex Oti is also a politician, having been a banker. He's been in that field since he left the banking system to join politics, from PDP to APC to Labour Party. Like you said, haven't said everything right. You've said it here. We should give him 1 year, after 1 year or 2 years, because it's a different thing to have a plan. I mean, Lagos have done bond. Ogun State have done bond. Which other states? Those are about the two states.
All states.
Two successful bonds.
All states have done bonds, though. Almost all have done bonds. All of them.
Pardon?
Almost all the states in Nigeria have done a bond. It's who has not done that you'll be asking. Who has not done? Almost all have done a bond.
But the thing is, I'm talking about utilization of it.
Gotcha.
And the purpose of getting those funds back.
True.
I don't know if you get what I'm saying. The only state that is
Yes.
viable in that is Lagos State.
Only?
I love the bullish, the confidence, and everything we have in Alex Oti. For me, if I look at it from the business perspective, I like what Kalu said. If this thing goes wrong, right? If one step is missed, because look, I like the fact that he's taking a bold step, but you know what? I think he should slow down. People like you, I love the things you have said, the things you wanted to bring. Just like you were saying, we had a guy who wanted to bring about $2 billion. Kalu, I don't know if you remember a housing project in Abuja, NLC and a company called Christian Ladi.
Yes, I do.
It's about $100 million housing. I was one of the people, in fact, I heard those things that we went to the court when the developer was being tried, when Bala Mohammed and the Labour president and his secretary, who eventually succeeded him, when they were all asking for $20 million upfront when the project has not even started. I'm just backing what you're saying, Doc. You have not even started the project. This guy, the owner of the money was one of those people from Greece. When Greece economy crashed, he took his money out of Greece and he was looking for a place to sink that money, about $6 billion. And the only place he could see that he could put that money is because of the housing deficit that Nigeria has. So he said, look, let's do an housing project. Let federal government give me land across Nigeria. He got almost 1,000 hectares in Abuja alone. He got in.
We lost you. First light. I mean, Doc, it still comes back to this idea of there are two on social media. There are two kinds of people on social media. There are people that actually are very curious about what Abia is doing and want to see how you can actually fund development by borrowing. I want to see if it's possible to copy that and do in their own part. Then there are the naysayers that feel that, listen, this guy is just running up a tree. He really does not understand what he's doing. He's playing to the gallery and it will come crashing down. It's yeah. I mean, because Nigeria borrowed, and we are in a lot of trouble. I think that's where people are coming from.
Carlo, let me come in here. You see, there's an adage that says, when a child of 2 years is coming from an experience of having a bee sting, the child, as the child grows, if the child sees the buzz of an ordinary housefly, the child will flee thinking that is a bee because they sound alike. Now, I want us to come down and look back. There is a World Bank global infrastructure master plan that was developed when Okonjo-Iweala between the federal government of Nigeria and the World Bank on what is required to build the critical infrastructure in Nigeria, rail, transport, aviation, housing, and all the key sectors to bring Nigerian infrastructure to the level of the Second World, not even First World. And the number that was tied to that was $3 trillion over the next 30 years. That is consistent, consolidated, unbridged $100 billion investments annually into the Nigerian economy. Investment that are non-physical revenue driven, because physical revenue cannot give us that money. The government that came in after Jonathan took that document and threw it into the dustbin. I'll give you an example. Nigeria today, with a landmass of 923,000 square kilometers, has rail network coverage of about 3,000 kilometers of dilapidated, outdated, narrow gauge lines. South Africa almost controls 80% of the rail network in Africa. South Africa alone. UK, with a landmass of 243,000 square kilometers, has rail network of over 16,000 kilometers, and they are still doing more. Ghana has shown us an example. Ghana is doing a PPP rail project that is private sector driven, 300 kilometers from Kumasi to the other side of it. Now, for Nigeria, and we all understand that rail network, rail operation, both cargo and passenger traffic, is far cheaper than truck or whatever. In Nigeria today, the cost of trucking a goods across Nigeria is about 95 naira per cargo ton per mile. In India, it is 15 naira. If we use rail, the cost will come down to 14 naira per ton per mile. I was part of the team that did a study on the most lucrative rail route. We devoted 2 good years. We worked with guys in NRC, we worked with guys in the BPA, and some other guys. We worked with a group known as the Bank Group, the Bank Group, and a Turkish group. We ran the numbers. The cargo traffic on between Lagos to Shagamu, through Ore, to Benin, to Asaba, to Onitsha, to Owerri, to Port Harcourt, and through Aba. The cargo traffic through that road alone was estimated to be close to about 500 million tons. Passenger traffic, the same thing. And the numbers we are done, it will take about $8 billion to do that rail network. Circle back to Aba, go back to Okigwe, to Oka, back to Onitsha, take Abakaleke back to Asaba. Within that corridor, the most lucrative, most efficient rail corridor in Nigeria. Now, but what did Buhari do? Buhari did to Marathi. And people ask me, say they want to open up Nigeria and Niger. The volume of trade between Nigeria and Niger annually is over only $67 billion. It's not even up to 1% of the volume of trade between Ondo, Lagos, and Asaba on an annual basis. Now, somebody will tell you, oh, to develop 12,000 kilometer rail network in Nigeria over the next 12 years is very easy, but it will cost about $38 billion. This cannot come through physical revenue. Now, let me give you an example now. Assuming if the governors of Lagos, Ondo, Ogun, Edo, Delta, Anambra, Imo, Abia, River State, the 8 states that has this rail route passing through their corridor, decide to come today, it's okay. We are going to borrow $8 billion since now rail has been concessioned. Or we are going to provide a guarantee or a World Bank guarantee for a private sector-led group under a 45-year DPOT on this. For those who have not done any study on this, for those who do not even understand the importance of what we're trying to do, they will scream, hey, how can Edo borrow $1 billion? How can Abia borrow $1 billion? That is almost about 1 trillion. Can they pay? But they've not bothered to find out. Are they borrowing to consume? They are not borrowing to consume. They are borrowing it as a guarantee to encourage the private sector participators to come and do what we trigger and open up the economy of 5 regions in such a way that in the next 10 years we'll look back, we thank the government that took that initiative. OT is not borrowing to consume. That is different between OT and Buhari. Buhari borrowed 22 trillion naira from CBN. Till today, we cannot trace where that money went to. Buhari borrowed, I feel sorry for Bola Tinubu. Buhari borrowed 77 trillion naira. Our total debt position in 2015, June, that was 12 trillion. Under Buhari, it went to 77 trillion. And people will tell you, oh, he did second Niger bridge. Badadash, he did what Buhari borrowed. What he did is not up to 1% of what he borrowed. What did he do? OT is not borrowing to consume. That is number one thing people have failed to understand. Go and look at those borrowings. Total revenue for 2024 projected either is 165 million. Total recurrent expenditure, even debt service, is 91 billion. So what is generating in Abia State is enough to take care of the recurrent expenditure and still have about 40% extra to invest in infrastructure. All the OT's borrowing is going to go to tied to projects, to infrastructure that will catalyze economic development. It's not like Buhari that in a budget of 19 trillion raised revenue of 7.9 trillion naira and it consumed debt and non-debt recorded of 13 trillion. That simply means every of our oil earnings, our revenue collected from FIRS, from customs, including borrowing, we are consumed by less than 1 million criminals in Abuja as civil servants and political officers. This is unlike OT. No matter what anybody may have against the Tinubu government, I don't think he will be this profligate as Buhari. I don't think he will be that insensitive to borrow to consume. I don't think.
I think that if Tinubu had printed 23 trillion, no matter what anybody says about Tinubu, he would have changed Nigeria, transformed the country. That's real transformation. You give Tinubu 23 trillion. He's a businessman. Atiku, Tinubu, Peter Obi, you give them 23 trillion to spend over 8 years. Are you kidding me? $50 billion? Are you kidding me? But we entered, it's more than one chance we entered with Buhari. I don't think Nigerians understand what has happened. Even the debt, it's been converted. The bonds have been converted to a 40-year debt. You and your kids will pay.
When I talk that, see, let me tell you, in same countries, a Messenger will have faced in China, he will have faced the wage here. But in that China, people like Buhari and the rest of them will have even faced anti-aircraft missile.
Okay. I don't know. So I think let me get some other folks to speak here. I tried to add First Light. So First Light he asked a question. We'll just make sure that he's okay with the answer you gave. And then from First Light, we can maybe move on to someone else. First Light, are you okay with the answer? I think you gave a very, very detailed explanation of the...
For me, I'm still optimistic. I don't believe politicians. I am sorry. OT is one of them. Until I see the performance of what he did, what he's going to do with this year, with the next year budget, then I will start believing him. I like people that have view about things. Everything you have explained is fantastic. Fantastic on the book. But you see, Nigerian politician, I have no, yes, people have a lot of respect for him. People have a lot of trust in him. But I tell you one thing, until I see the performance of the budget of next year, and I also looked at the budget of Enugu. He's also giving about 25% to education in Enugu State, right? For me, it's a new dawn. I love when you put a lot of money in education. And honestly, Kalu, you remember we discussed it on your space. The housing sector, Nigerian housing sector alone, is almost $500 billion for God's sake. $500 billion. If we can just turn around, and I've even seen Agbakuba steady time with that number, all you need to do is to change that nonsensical law of your land. Like he said, I have 3 houses in London. I bought them, my documents, the house I have in Ikoyi or in Delta State, where he comes from. He said that those papers cannot even give him loans in Nigeria. Who does that? You have a couple of
That's Land Use Act.
Over 5-10 million people in Nigeria that earn more than 500,000.
And the context. Yeah, the context is this, that the Land Use Act ties up equity, ties up property. I think the PwC guy that used to be around here, 6 trillion. That 6 trillion naira is tied up in asset that you cannot monetize or collateralize or go to a bank. So, yeah.
It's crazy when you hear things like that. Look, I've been working on something and we've been trying to get people. The only problem I'm having as I'm talking to you now, I have people who want to put money into housing. The first thing they ask you, off-taker is not even a problem for me. I don't want to build luxury houses. I want to build houses that people that earn between 3, 4, 500,000 that can afford to drop 100,000, 33% of their salary at the end of every month to get it out.
Exactly.
I have people. Exactly. But guess what? A guy is selling off a 20 hectares of land in Abuja here. Guess how much he's calling? 4 billion naira. He wants 4 billion naira up front. If I pay you up 4 billion naira up front, when somebody gives me $10 million, which is the equivalent of say 10 billion, I use 4 billion to buy a land. How much am I going to make on it before I pay my loan?
The thing is that with property, right? With property, you cannot have affordable housing and high, should we say, taxation. What I'm trying to say is this: to have affordable housing, the government must take a loss. South Africa built nearly 1 million homes. Singapore built nearly 800,000 homes based on the fact that it's a subsidy.
Egypt, you saw what Egypt did with those money. They built new old town and everything. They're taking the bullet now.
Egypt has Arab money. We don't have a sugar daddy. That's Nigeria's problem. Nigeria doesn't have it. We don't have a sugar daddy that we can run to. Our sugar daddy used to be UK. UK is now broke. So
I don't care what people say. I will go to the Saudi Arabia of this world to get 200 billion with whatever I'm going to securitize those money. 200 billion. And I will sit down for 15 years. I will tie it to, just like he said, not consumption.
Saudi won't give you.
Yes.
Productivity.
But China, doctor, China offered Nigeria $60 billion cash under Yaradua. 60 billion to have bought an oil field. They're going to pay us in bulk, in cash, one time. And we calculated and we said that was going to be lower than the cost per barrel. But he was giving us the money in bulk, in cash now. And we let... So...
That is what Mexico did.
No, it's different. Mexico... No. First Light. Mexico does what they do. What's it called? They lock. They do a derivative trade where they lock in the trade of their oil for 1 year. Nigeria's case was China were to buy an oil field, and irrespective of the price of crude oil, they will pay us today 60 billion cash now. So if oil price goes up, we can't come to them. If oil price goes down, we can't come to them again. They've paid us whatever is the further oil field, $60 billion cash. Take. That's what China offered us, and we said no. I'm not sure if I would have taken it, but I don't know.
The speed that we use in taking that money, the speed.
Carlo, did you hear what First Light said? First Light, let me come here. Carlo, do you hear what First Light said? Nigeria today, we have housing deficit of over $500 billion. You know? Do you even realize? Look at what, even he says something that is very instructive here. Do you know, I was so angry with Fashola when they were asking him about this issue of housing deficits. Fashola was saying he doesn't know how they came about, that the person who gave that information that we have housing deficit of 17 million is not correct, blah, blah, blah. And I was so angry. I said, as housing minister, works minister, for 8 years you are in power. It's not even occurred to you to conduct ordinary study to understand the level of housing deficit we have in Nigeria and what policy and program measures we can put in place to ensure that the deficit is breached. And like we all agree here, the Land Use Act has outlived its usefulness in Nigeria. We have provided overbearing powers to governors. In fact, let me tell you what they do. Most governors, once they become governor, the next thing they do is just they begin to look for land bank that they can steal for themselves and their children and their cronies. If we amend the Land Use Act in such a way that it becomes like what we have in the US and the UK, once, Carlo, you own a land and you have the CFO, you determine who you give it to. No government can revoke it. No government can take it without compensating you to the full value of the land based on the market value. If we have such an arrangement, and look at what First Light said, even if you borrow 60 billion naira dollars, I say, okay, I want to do 1,000 housing units in key centers in Nigeria. That is, are you aware that the last time we had massive housing projects across Nigeria was under Shagari? In my town of Kigwe, we have Shagari low cost. In Owerri today, if you go to Owerri, the most developed area of Owerri is the new Owerri Capital Territory, which is developed in 4 years. That is the only part of Igbo State where you can see a plot of land now selling for 50 million, 60 million, 30 million. But that was Mbakwe's vision over how many years ago? Over 40 years ago. Those who came after Mbakwe have not had the foresight of encouraging new city developments. You see, it is so painful. He has a group that was, if I'm a governor, I will tell you this. You know, I look at this people, I laugh. If I'm a governor, I will get to my state assembly, because I don't want to do it unilaterally, to mark out centers of new housing development. I will go cap in hand. Any investor that show me capacity to build, even if it is 100 housing units, low cost. I'm not talking about luxury condos. Low cost that will satisfy middle class, lower class. I will write CFO. I will beg them and I will bring them to develop it. But of course, I will give them terms and conditions. They cannot use my land to speculate. A governor should be like the business developer. It's like a bank. He should be like the one going to beg investors. You can come to my state.
Yeah.
You will make laws. You will put in place. But we see what we have with our emperors who don't think with their brain.
So you see,
want to collect and steal.
So Doc, I'm in the US right here, right? My guy went to buy land in like a rural area in America there. You go to a website. You just go to the website, you look at the land, it'll tell you if it's on whatever floodplain or blah, blah, blah. You pay for the land, you go and you pay for taxes. End of story. End of story. There's no governor, there's end of story.
Do you know this Dr. Akitayo guy?
This is a foreigner.
Do you know what he did with his own land? He couldn't get loan into Nigeria. He takes him to buy about 40 hectares of land in the US, and he started building. He used that land in the US as a collateral to get about $20 million to bring into Nigeria to build the Nigerian estate. So practically what those people did was they are not interested in this Nigerian system. They just use that one he has in the US as a collateral. So even if the Nigerian one goes sour, they know that they have something in the US. So
gotcha. All right, let's rotate the room a bit. Let's rotate. Let's get a few guys in here to speak. I got UD. UD, what's up? You got your hand up. Go ahead, sir. UD.
Okay. Thank you, Carlo. I have a lot of questions. But let me start with this one. Mr. Obiora, I admire your passion. I want you to help me if you are to put in dollar terms, if you are to evaluate Abia State Civil Service, what do you think is the value of the civil service? Because my greatest nightmare is building our hope on what one governor can do without looking at the efforts, in increasing the capacity of the civil service. That is the only way we can sustainably develop.
Oh, well, that's a serious question.
Since I started following this International Civil Service Effectiveness Index, I started to appreciate over like 10 years now. I began to appreciate what the different institutions can make. I'm from Imo State. I interact with public service here, and I tell you, no matter who they bring in now as the governor of Imo State, you won't see the impact.
Of course, you see the impact.
That will deliver whatever good policies are not there. I don't know if there is any PhD holder in a primary school classroom. So I want can you help us have an understanding of the value of civil service in Abia State, so that we know who this local
let him answer.
Who is going to implement.
Good. Let me come in here. I totally agree and align with your story. I'm from Imo State, and one of the greatest impediments to development of the Southeast, and even across Nigeria, is the issue of the inefficiency, the corruption, the incompetency, the overbloated workforce that we have in the civil service. I was privileged in 2007, 2008, 2009 to work with a team that set up the tax management office in Abia State. I was one of the few DMO licensed tax financial engineers. I worked for Bauchi State government too. And one of the things I discovered, and what was the whole essence of setting up the debt management office? If you watch, out of the 36 states, only about 10 states have enrolled their civil servants into the contributory pension fund scheme. And it's one of the areas you can be able to checkmate ghost workers, cut out inefficiencies, and checkmate. Lagos State government did it very, very well. I'm sorry to say it, Lagos State government's civil service is the most efficient across Nigeria, 104,000. And if you look at their wage bill, well controlled, they pay them very, very well. It's like those in the medical profession. They pay them very, very well. And they're very, but Imo and Abia had been a serious problem. And of course, that is the way most governors allowed it to be. Once a governor becomes a governor, he will start recruiting all manner of people into the civil service as a way of empowerment. I don't know the kind of empowerment where you bring a graduate and you be paying 25,000 and he's so happy, which simply means you know that he's going to steal. If you look at the wage bill, Imo and Abia, the civil servants alone consume almost about 75% of FAC and JAC receivables. And most of them are ghost workers. In Abia State, they recently discovered OT is going to do a lot. I totally agree with you. One of the things OT is doing now, and which is paying off. Like recently, they just discovered that a lot of medical doctors in Abia State civil service who have jackpot are still collecting salaries in Nigeria.
What?
Which is criminal.
What?
Yes, which is criminal. And so it is the same thing at all levels. Of course, he's going to conduct massive staff audit. Like he said, he's going to pay off all the outstanding areas that are owed the servants. And then there is going to be massive audit. Abia State cannot afford not to enroll into the contributory pension scheme. Abia State cannot afford not to retrain and rebuild the strength of their workforce. Like I said, everybody must not be a civil servant. If you create employment avenues in other sectors, people will choose to work in those sectors. In Nigeria today, I'm sorry to say it, the politicians are actually not the problem. It's the civil servants that teach the politicians how to steal. I say it with every sort of. If you're able to reform the civil service in Nigeria, reform the police and reform the banking industry, Nigeria will become a heaven for goodness and the prosperity. Because the major criminals in Nigeria are in the bank, the security agencies, and in the civil service. These three categories of human beings. If you're able to carry out massive reforms,
sorry, say it again. Doctor, say it again. Say it again. Which three? They said bank, civil service. Say it again. The three.
I said the three categories of areas in Nigeria that if you execute massive reform, you will reset Nigeria optimally. Civil service, massive civil service reform, or last night report implemented massively. Banking reform, very key. Police reform. You see the bank. Hey, Kano is my constituency. I am telling you this. Nobody can loot. I like what the CBN is doing now. They are mandating every account. You won't believe it. Over 28 million. I can't remember the number now. There are millions of bank accounts. I think about 2.8 million bank accounts that does not have BVN, that does not have name. What do you think they use those accounts to do? You know, I have always advocated too. The only way you can catch the civil servants and reform it, you don't even need to sack anybody. The Land Use Act should be amended. And one of the things we should include in the law is for you to register any property, for you to register any car, either as an individual or any asset in Nigeria, you must include your BVN, your name, and your team. Now let me tell you how it works. Most of these civil servants are criminals. Come to Banana Island here. You will see I know many houses owned by civil servants whose annual salaries are not up to 5 million naira per annum, but they own properties worth billions. How did they make the money? You and I know better. Of course, you saw the Akantania that stole about 109 billion naira. These are part of the things we're talking about. But if you amend the relevant laws, don't sack anybody. Before you register your land, submit your BVN, your TIN, and your name. If it's a corporate entity, all directors and shareholders must submit their BVN, their name, and their TIN. If you're incorporating a company in CAC, the same thing. Let me tell you what it does. If you decide to go and use your palm wine tapper brother in the village to go and buy a property in Parkview, Ikoyi, and you put his BVN and his TIN and his name, and then the relevant law should be amended, like the CCB Act. When it involves things that has to do with financial crime, the burden of proving the legitimacy of the source of fund should be on the person who is being investigated. Of course, I know the police will abuse it. That is why I say we must carry out massive reform in the police. And then amend the CCB Act too to encourage whistleblowing. If Kalu blows a whistle that helps us to recover stolen money from his local government chairman, he will collect 20% of the stolen money. 20% of the value of the recovery. Let me tell you what it will do. Even that is where the reform will happen in the bank. The teller that will post it, if you're stealing 1 billion, you begin transfer of illegal 1 million from government account to private account. That teller that will post it knows that if he recovers that 1 billion, he will get 200 million. His salary is 8,000 a month. Will blow that whistle and blow it concretely. There are very little things we can do. But the truth is that
yes, you are not there. That whistle you are not there.
No, it's not there. It's not there. It's not there. Forget the propaganda.
They changed it. It was there. It was what they used in catching Andrew. It was the Ninth Assembly that changed it, that said that the person, if you prove that thing, if the investigation didn't show at the end of the day, you will be arrested as well. That's when people start running back. They changed it in the National. They changed it in the National Assembly.
Nigeria.
All right. Okay. But let's move on. Udi, I think
there's another thing. I don't know if you remember this policy under Goodluck Jonathan, Konjiwala started. This cashless policy that they picked 6 states, one from each geopolitical zone. Abia State is the state they picked for implementation from Southeast. And that policy said you cannot withdraw, you cannot handle that at so volume. What Abia State government was doing was to come into Imo State out. I don't know if they are still doing it now. That's what the things I want to know. They come into Imo State, go to the bank and cash millions of naira and then return to Abia State. What kind of policy that allows such things to happen? You know that these are government accounts, just that they can't, cash the money in Abia State. They just have to cross the border, come into Imo State, withdraw huge volumes of cash. Of course, immediately it is cash, you can't trace it, then return to Abia State. These policies are, huge. There are huge gaps and they exploited it. And that is why I'm worried that somebody has come in and we want to praise it, but then what is he doing differently? I want to see how strict he is about the process. The process is so important for me, beyond how many roads he awarded. I want to see,
you're right. You're 100% right. My prayer is I'm praying that he scales the Supreme Court hurdle. Let me tell you, whatever is happening, I think Oti is a bit modulated because there is still landmines on the road. My prayer is let Oti scale the Supreme Court hurdle. Oti, don't worry. See, let me tell you, I totally agree with you. We are operating in a very rotten system. You're even talking that far. Are you aware there was one particular governor who mentioned the name? Every time he would say he's traveling to Turkey, to one Asian country to find investors, he will load the aircraft with 200 people or 100 people from his state. What were they doing? Each of them they will load about $10,000, $20,000 in their pockets, and they would move it there. They are going. Coming down on the airport, they will want to hand over the money to him, and they will spend it and they will come back again. We have very good politicians whose only thinking and their mindset is what to collect, what to steal, how to loot, and how to move money. In fact, they see governance as means of poverty alleviation for them and their cronies. So, I totally understand your sentiment. Oti has a lot of work to do because he cannot work alone. He cannot work. You saw what they were telling him now. Like when he came into power, he appointed a new head of service from the private sector. One lady like that, I think was a former KPMG or PwC person. All of them shouted and screamed. They protested, the civil servants. You cannot bring a head of civil service from outside. It must be one of us. You know why they were protesting? They weren't protesting out of altruism. They were protesting because they've seen somebody who is out of the system, who will not align with the status quo. So they already know there's going to be a lot of wahala fighting her or she was going to stop a lot of shenanigans. Exactly happened when Akumbi Adesina was appointed Minister for Agriculture and Rural Development. In 6 months, he destroyed the 15 years fertilizer racketeering game that was being played in Abuja. Oti will have a lot of work that he will do. Like rightly pointed out, I don't blame those who are very pessimistic. I don't blame those who are still doubtful because we have seen a lot of things happen in Nigeria. But my prayer and my bet is that God will help him to, once he scales the Supreme Court hurdle, to devote the remaining 3 years. Even if he does only one, of course he will do 2 terms by the grace of God.
All right.
Let him devote this remaining 3 years in resetting Abia. There's a way you will reset a place. Like what P2B did ambassador, even if you bring a drunkard, it will still not destroy the foundation.
All right.
After you.
Let me get Basho in here. Basho, what's on your mind, man? We have a full lineup here. We're talking about lots of stuff. What's on your mind? Basho, can you hear me? Hello? Basho, can you raise the audio up if you don't mind, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Yes. You see, when it comes to this particular issue on the topic, there was one particular one that interests me, was this issue of Tingo. How he was able to scale through with such a huge amount of fraud without being detected, both by the Nigerian authorities or even the investors abroad. There was this film I watched on Netflix. Sorry for bringing it because it was a film. I think it's called The Great Shot, where it showed a lot of scam companies would just list on the stock exchange, be selling all shares that are not worth any money to people. At the end of the day, a particular company went about investigating these companies, and they now found out that many of them did not even exist, but they had paper valuations of billions of dollars, millions of dollars, and things like that. I don't know the system they use in the USA, but in Nigeria we suffered something very similar in 2008, 2007, if I'm not mistaken, with our stock exchange, where companies that were more or less dying were being listed, auditors were giving them fake papers, and everything was being stamped. They would list on the stock exchange, collect people's money, and then you wake up and hear that the bank has collapsed. You hear that the company has gone bust. There was this airline we had. What's the name? It's the Abaka airline or so. They were on the stock exchange. Everybody thought it was good. We bought shares, and then we woke up one morning to find out that, man, the company has died. All the share values has gone. I don't know the system they were using in the US that people proper checks and balance. People could just bring anything, list, and get away with it. Even this movie, there's one that showed this stockbroker that was scamming people. What's the name? Oh God, so very popular.
Yeah, but sure, it struck me as it's very strange that he was able to perpetrate that fraud. He was doing this phones for farmers thing, was able to get it listed, was able to get that, yes, I put him off, was able to get that listed in the US, got it approved on NASDAQ, audited, and yet no one could spot the fraud. How many are there out there that basically are posting fake numbers and we think that they are real because they are on the New York NASDAQ? Like I said, the first time I heard about Tingo, the very, very first time I heard about that company was on Bloomberg. And Bloomberg says the company was worth in excess of $1 billion. This was Bloomberg. So who am I to doubt Bloomberg? Yeah, you should do your due diligence, but Bloomberg is saying it's $1 billion. It's on NASDAQ. What are we supposed to do now? What are we supposed to do?
Particularly want to take Bloomberg, like the holy grail, more or less. The thing is, if there should be a proper way of vetting companies, a proper way of knowing what is real and what is fake, because the average person, might not necessarily have resources to hire an investigator or hire an accountant or hire a proper person to do investigation before we make our investment.
But it's crazy, Basho. What if I told you Warren Buffett it's all fake? What would you say?
My God.
Carlo, I even wanted to add to it. I feel that this was very difficult to really track. The former president was highlighted on the board. And if you look at Bloomberg's reports particularly, you see that it had a strong body of influential Nigerians. And, bookmakers will tell you that Deloitte, whether franchise or not, was their auditor. So the NASDAQ had the two options. And if you look at the way the company was listed on NASDAQ, he placed some kind of smartness, offshore business entities in Nigeria. So it was until the short seller did research and that this company doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
So you can't really pick it. It was much more like a puzzle picking together. He used reliable entities, Bloomberg, Deloitte, NASDAQ, and
This is the thing.
Covered it. And
so Lumide, how are we sure that any other company we're talking about here is in the same, is not fake? Because if this company had not blown up, I'm pretty sure we would have said, buy Tingo. Tingo is in fintech, they are already in NASDAQ. We would have said that. Imagine if you had bought Sheffield Wednesday. You get the point. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. He audited reports. Auditor said it was good.
You see, it's so scary because many a times people might look at this investment from the point of the rich guy. There are some of us that have just been able to put together some little money, retirement money, family savings, and we just want to invest it, and then go and put it inside a sinkhole whereby you put the money and then it's gone. It's gone. Millions and millions of dollars. Just like that. I don't know, I think there has to be a proper vetting system.
That's the thing. He was vetted. Basho, that's the thing about the story, right? In every box that could have been ticked was ticked in his case as positive. That's the thing about the story. to get into the NASDAQ. He tried to apply to get into the big board of the New York Stock Exchange. He tried to get into the big board. If he had gone to the big board, then ETFs would have included him. Many Nigerians would have bought him. Many Nigerians. So everything was taked by show. So it's crazy. Like I said, what if I told you Warren Buffett is fake? What would you say? It's just...
Yeah, but Kalu, I think for me, the lessons in the story was that, apart from due diligence, one could have fallen for these things. It was how you diversify. Look at what happened with Madoff. JP Morgan was found culpable. They had to even compensate victims with over $1 billion. But the Security Exchange Commission of the United States ensured that Americans recovered their... So the difference with this and this is that when things go wrong, the Security Exchange Commission of the United States can confiscate, track, and compensate. So even at the problem we are talking about, it's not like zero for investors because those that have these things can sue, they can file in, they can ensure that they can take this. Unlike what we see in Ponzi schemes where it's almost like your funds are gone for good. So it shouldn't scare the average investor that, there's an average level of risk.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is that the United States has safeguards. They have Department of Justice that can ensure the protection of investors.
Let me scare the folks listening to you now. The fact is this, right? This guy created $1 billion out of paper. So, he created a company, then he bought on that company with paper. So there was no assets per se. Like in Bernie Madoff's case, Bernie Madoff had assets, but he was doing a Ponzi. He was using his assets were less than his liability, so it was like bridging that gap. This guy has no assets. So what's going to happen is that when they open up these books eventually, there's going to be a massive haircut. I don't know where they're going to get the money from. There's no money in the bank in Nigeria. Maybe they'll sell his house in London and it's private. There's no money. This is going to be a lost... It's going to be a lost cause.
The thing is, many a times to recover money from these criminals is so difficult because even if you arrest him, there's not much you can get from him.
And the guy is still talking. I saw him on the other day saying...
That money he has been cashing out from their stock exchange, would have hidden it all over the world, giving it to all manner of people to hide from him. So tracing them is going to be a whole task ahead. I don't know, but it seems that...
Okay, what's the lesson now? What's the lesson for us now? If you're listening to the space, what's the lesson for you? You've got to focus really on cash. The red flag for me in this whole transaction was that he was buying these billion-dollar companies with paper. He wasn't issuing cash. He was buying paper. So he was saying this company is worth $1 billion. He will issue $1 billion of shares and buy it. No cash. So when you look at a company, look at their cash flow statement. Look at it very critically and look at cash from operations. There are lots of fintech we have now, and fintechs will tell us a different way to value a fintech. They'll tell you, let's look at the eyeballs, let's look at the market penetration, let's look at the spread or traction. I think this incident brings us back to the forefront, how cash is king. If a company is not producing cash, red flag it. Doesn't mean it's fraudulent, but red flag it. That means you put an extra due diligence on that transaction and on that company. It must produce cash. And remember, cash is not sales, cash is not revenues, cash is not profit. Cash is cash. It must generate cash from operations. If you don't see cash from operations, then ask questions. If you are making sales and there is no cash, where's the money? Then it's on debt. If it's on debt sales, that means that debt could be manipulated. It could be being bought. You can sell to Nigerians like the North Koreans did and not receive any cash, right? So that's the learning for you. When you peel up a company, especially a new quote-unquote type fintech or company that is very, very, new way of accounting, always go to the cash flow statement and look for the line that says cash from operations, not cash from financing. That's borrowing money. Look, cash from operations, because they could have cash and that cash would come from borrowings. You want to see cash coming from operations. Basho, nice call out there. Let's get Adios. Adasogo. Killed it again. How you doing, sir? Go ahead.
Please keep me for now, please. Thank you.
Oh, why'd you request? All right, let's get Vax. Oh my God. Hey, Mr. Lua, Mr. Kosheni, I thought you had spoken to Mr. Kosemani. You are not the other guy, the crypto guy. I thought you were the same person, Mr. Kosemani.
My big dog. I am not the same person.
Sorry about that. So yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, I've been learning from everybody here, but I wanted to chime in on CNG token. I don't know if this is the right time to
go for it.
Do that,
go for
so
it.
I don't digress.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. This is my industry, and I'm very happy. I want to use the opportunity to say big shout out to everybody on the speakers list and others listening. And I thank you, Mr. Calder, for bringing me up here. Once it's crypto, Bitcoin, I always like to talk, and I'm so happy that the breaking news came in just a few hours ago, maybe about 24 hours, and we are supposed to pay about 500 million minimum share. So many of us have started running helter-skelter. It's a beautiful time in Nigeria, and I'm glad that I was part of the first MVP initialization of the CNGN, innovated by very brilliant Nigerians. I'm very, very confident in what they're doing. Although I am not very updated on the progress after some time because I've been concentrating on adoption work. But shout out to Charles and Adedeji. You might want to find them and bring them here. The guys on Convexity. It's a beautiful thing that is about to erupt in Nigeria. If you're in the crypto space, millions and billions will be made positively. Scams will happen, and all these things happening in the SEC and people being, indicted by the DOJ in the US will start happening in Nigeria. I'm sure some of us have heard of some news. Some of us have been involved one way or the other in issues, and we have really learned in this space. People in this business about to buy up banks will buy up crypto companies. Nigeria can generate a lot of revenues from this, especially this bullish season that is just beginning since infant stage, about to get into 2024, and it's going to be major. Nigeria can rake in billions of dollars.
Well, can I ask you a few questions directly, if you don't mind? I think we're going back and forth. I know before you joined, we was going back and forth. I think Olumide broke the story, so credit to him. Who was basically talking about in terms of how will it work? Is it a stable coin? Would it increase inflow of dollars into Nigeria? What's your take of the operationality of it? To the guy that doesn't know anything about crypto, just wants to get dollars into Nigeria to pay his school fees abroad, does this help him?
Thank you very much. Firstly, this needs a lot of holistic approach to answering, and of course, I wouldn't want to jump the gun because I know that the CNGN had some very credible people in the WhatsApp group when we started. We were barely like 15, and back and forth with CBN. So I myself saw the news, eventually because I lost my phone. I left the WhatsApp group. I couldn't continue with it. This been on for over 24 months, and it's backed by the Naira. It's not backed by the dollar. I saw your tweet. I smiled. To increase adoption and to allow money flow around the space efficiently. I think that's why the e-Naira has been wrapped. That's a wrapped e-Naira, if anybody understand how I mean. There's more technicalities that I think we can talk about. It might not catch on immediately, but in short few weeks, it will enhance remittance, I want to believe, because if you can easily unwrap into cryptocurrency, FX will come in faster. There are challenges for adoption in that area. I was talking to on my show. I host the first ever crypto show on television. It's called the Digital Asset Show on DSTV. So you yourself, I would humbly like to invite you one of these days, and Olumide and everybody that can talk about it. This is big for us. And one of the questions somebody asked me off the show yesterday, a big man at the apex body of the Bureau de Change Association in Nigeria, is how will this work? And without beating around the bush, I just want you to understand how
there's no way the eNGN will be directly backed by the dollar because Nigeria don't even have dollar itself. I don't know if you understand. I don't know where we get the dollar to back eNGN 101. So it's efficient as
from the
eNaira backed.
Well, what if you back it from the
eNaira directly into crypto?
What if you back it? Yeah, what if you back it from the deposit of the Naira that the Naira is going to make? If I'm in Houston, I want to send dollars to you. I deposit my dollars on the swap exchange. Isn't that the dollar itself? Can that be funded like how banks take your deposits and then create a risk asset from it?
You see, you're a very brilliant man, and sometimes you throw these ideas around, and these ideas are things that turn into billions of dollars for the people in the West. We need to start taking cognizance of things like this. We have had this type of thought processes. It now depends on the players, the venture capitals, the banks who really want to come into this space, and CBN itself to sit the ecosystem down, the developers down, some of us who have inside knowledge on how this thing will work, to apply features and modalities and modify the things that can happen. I want to say that it's not only the eNGN that's eventually would be backed by the Naira. Money bags will come into the space and it's going to evolve into maybe eNGN, maybe eNGN, etc., etc. You know what I mean? The maritime sector can just say, you know what, we're going to build our own stable coin and it's going to be backed by the Naira, or maybe backed by the Chinese yuan. So there's so many features that can be built on the crypto space. But one thing Nigerian government have solved successfully under the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, this administration, which I know you may have spotted or a lot of people have not spotted, is the inflow of FX for our country with crypto. This will break the back of so many hindrances, and the economy will blow up positively. But I hope SEC is very ready. I was with a top man who was in charge of VASP, that's the VASP license, on my show yesterday, Mr. Tigni Agama, the head of registration of SEC, and now the managing director of the Nigerian capital market. It was live on television with me yesterday. And one last word left with me was, young people and anybody in this space, this is too big for you to run alone. Find partners, find advisors, collaborate with people. Kalu, sir, scams will start popping up in our country because Nigerian government have opened the opportunity for billions to flow. They don't even understand what they have done. Economy can be boosted, but a lot of bullshit will happen. I will leave it at that. I think you should find Charles.
Okay. No, but just to be clear, so you are saying that this will inflow the dollars into Nigeria. This will inflow dollars, more or less, right? That's just to be clear to those listening.
Yeah, because if you have a wrapped eNaira, for example, eNaira would have been perfect, but I think we envisaged that the guys will conceptualize this idea. I remember I was one of the people that did research and development for the logo design, because I was thinking, I hope we won't infringe on logo designs, and I was sharing ideas with them. I can find the logo similarities, blah 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 blah, and one thing popped in my head, and while you were talking too, you see, if you can unwrap easily what is identifiable, that's in the crypto space, you can unwrap it easily into any exchange, and you want to buy a token or another coin. If that coin, that stable coin, is identifiable as a good logo, as efficient interoperability, less complicated problems, then you can buy anything. The FX now is no more just dollar. It's anything that moves in the internet space. This is the internet money in our own clients, Nigeria. So if let me use the right word. If the right things are put in place, in the lack of the right context, if the right things are put in place, this eNGN, if the central bank don't mess this all up, if Charles and Adedeji make sure that this is rightly done and the Nigerians are told the truth, because some of us will come out and blow up and talk when we spot something that's nice, then FX will flow easily to buy USDT, buy Bitcoin, convert it back to dollar, convert it to Naira, because those solutions already exist. It's just to allow the on-ramping and off-ramping efficiently. There shouldn't be censorship. There shouldn't be censorship, yes. Censorship that will hurt people because you don't like my face. You're not going to let my bilateral trade or my international transfers go. Or you see, this is a big one. It's really a big one, and I know you can sense some things that I'm not trying to say because I want to make sure that
I hear you. Olumide wants to step in. Olumide, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to add 2-3 thoughts, very brief. Why do you think the NRI is not working right now? Forget the bad PR. See, there's one thing we are ignoring. Doctor said a lot of things facing civil service, government. See, there's one thing I've found about the Nigerian system is interest. The NRI can solve the palliative issue we are talking about, offline, online. The NRI can solve the issues we are talking about, the civil service in terms of, because it has offline and online capability. In fact, the surveillance network will make the EFCC powerless. But you see, the issue here is that, when you create something, that was why I said that, you read what PwC London said about the NRI. They realize that what they have itself is more powerful, that it will put the power where a lot of people are concerned about surveillance. I feel we put the power more on the people, because now the level of accountability will be so immense, because you can't, things on the ledger, the CBN can see, the government officer. So if you can't, if you doctor the ledger, the way the blockchain system works, if you doctor it, it takes a smart forensic engineer to discover and all these things. So my concern here is not the eNGN and all these things. See, we will create 100 products. Nigerians will always create products. The problem we always have is interest. If the people that have the interest are not in support, it will become the past projects. Look at all the projects that we've done in the past. The BVN, NIN, all this, the capabilities they have individually alone should have become like the social security number in the United States. Why is it that we have BVN, NIN, and all these things? So I think
that's why. Let me bounce out with it a bit. That's why if you heard some of the things that I said if they don't mess this all up, because the crypto space is not anonymous, it's pseudonymous. You understand? So we can see transactions happen. We may not be able to identify. But like you said with the NRI, which I have called several times, the surveillance tool. You understand? If you don't want to be surveilled, don't go for CBDC. It's a GovCoin. But what I like about it is the fact that it can be wrapped. Now, if it can be wrapped, they need to put some level of open operations so people can see. There should be like an explorer where we can all go and see eNGN transactions. And I think that the guys who are working with the CBN on this before it was adopted, some of our thought process at the time is to be as transparent as possible. Where I would have a problem, and I think a lot of people will have a problem, is what you just mentioned, is when they, start to, when it becomes a cabal thing, then they will mess this all up, and there will be bigger emefiele fraud, because it's not money, it's not internet money. Internet money can be printed. It doesn't even need to be printed. It can just be multiplied. And this is why I always advocate for Bitcoin. I would make Mr. Kalino say, Oluwasegun has brought Bitcoin into this space. No, I have been less on hurting the government or with my words around CBDCs and all of this, because I realize I have people in there too much. We have all wrapped our hands, but we need to build the ecosystem. This is the time the blockchain ecosystem should not work in silos. We have to all come together. Bags move every day. On the show yesterday, a young man who moves almost $4-5 million, less than 30 years old, OTC, P2P, was on my show saying it openly that he wants to regularize. He has been involved in issues with the Interpol and all that, and he wants to follow compliance. So even the CBN themselves don't understand how this technology works that far. If not, some things that they are pronouncing now would have been done as long ago. But it's never too late. Stringent policies and guidelines, yes, but I think people can meet up to it. If you can meet up to IMTU and pay up share capital of $2 billion, this can also be easy. It's just $500,000. VCs will flow, they will come in, but the right people should be allowed to scrutinize. Open policy should be what should be allowed to happen. Not go and partner with one company from afar to come and work on the sovereign money of Nigeria. Like they did with the BITT. Emefiele, I'm sorry, I'm gonna hurt him, but stupidly went to go and bring a Barbados company, whatever they are from, the Caribbean, to come and work on our sovereign currency, the e-naira, and that's why he busted. eventually they brought in Nigerians who qualified for it and they faced it. I'm aware of that. Now, the issue is you need to know the integrity behind the people who developed the CNGN. How was it wrapped around the eNaira? What was their motive? What is their motive? Like Mr. Kalu was asking, are you off-ramping and on-ramping into multiple currencies, the dollars, etc.? Can I buy CNGN with my money on Cash App directly? Can I send, can I go to the Western Union desk, send dollar, and somebody receives CNGN and off-ramp it straight into Bitcoin? Some of us are already thinking of the multiple ways this can work, but if conversation, if it's not open source, if there are blockers here and there, then it becomes scammy eventually, so I'll leave it at that for now. I hope that there are other people here that would like to chime in so that we can make this even more we can make it even more broad. There are things I want to say. I don't want to.
We've got about maybe 15 minutes more. I think the point. I think between you and Olumide, I think we have a sense. I'm really talking to the guys that are not crypto people, don't care about crypto, but want to understand what this would mean for the dollar. What I'm hearing, if I summarize what I'm hearing, whether it is a CBD, whether it's a crypto, whether it's a stable coin, there might be more inflow of dollars into Nigeria in 2024. When this is going to be live. That's what I'm hearing or picking up from both of you. So if it's well done. Olumide, is that am I
I'll tell you for free, that's a big no. It's a big no because first, if you understand stable coins don't create. They are backed. There's a reserve account. That's what stable coins work about.
No, Olumide, what I'm asking
to expand the space. No, I'm coming. Will you expand the space with it? I'm very careful here because we need to understand that this is still a pilot scheme, and the objective, I'm following what I've seen in the past, was not to spread remittance. That was not the first for the stable coins. This thing was just to include, because if you look at the spreadsheet, if you look at those that have the document or those that can see an insight of it, the major thing they wrote there was to benefit the token holders and the economy. And when they mentioned the economy, it was just to liberate. Yes, remittance has a role in the economy, but that is not the dollar thing. Because if we make it like that, the problem is that the tag around it might make the CNGN a problem. I know, like I said, it's still not on the final space. It's still an ongoing thing. So I would like us to just wait for the CBN to really announce their major or the once the consultant brings it out, because it's a consultant, it's not just an entity. It involves banks, fintech companies, and consulting firms. That's all.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it like that.
Not that hard.
No, don't worry.
The consultant we're talking about are the same banks that don't even know anything about blockchain. Some of us, they train these banks. We sit down with their group GMDs and MDs, and they're just trying to adopt it because they see the inflow and outflow that come out of their own fiat operations, into the crypto space. And I agree with you to some extent, but I want to let you know that I'm still sticking to my point. If it's properly implemented, it's supposed to allow the easy on-ramp and off-ramp of crypto, because eNaira don't want to allow crypto, because eNaira is a gov coin. Gov coins are against cryptocurrencies. Except a wise government, we allow eNaira to move directly. Nigeria is still trying to follow, we are being led by, and we're being controlled by upper echelon governments too. So if you've been following what's happening among central banks all over the world, they've already agreed to accept crypto and regulate crypto in their various countries, but they still want to keep that autonomy of holding on to their own printable currency and don't want it to be interoperable with crypto, and that's why they're allowing it to be wrapped. If they allow multiple people, multiple organizations wrap the eNaira and cap it by a verifiable backing. For example, if you have 10 billion naira and you want to wrap the eNaira, let it not be that you will issue 75 billion naira of your wrapped eNaira, and then when something happens, everything starts to come down like domino. Stable coins don't breathe. They're not supposed to breathe, but they depeg. That is another issue that we may have. in as much as the designers are my friends, I'm a truth sayer. I also own an exchange, and I know how this ecosystem can be. I wouldn't be surprised if CBN come around tomorrow and update or reduce or turn around. They've been doing that over and over again, policies, or say they don't want to use eNGN again, they will use FNGN because there's quarrel between them and people decided.
Yeah, let's not go to technical. You know, the space is for guys that want to know what's going to happen in 2024. You are saying it to increase inflow. Linda is saying let's wait for the full guidelines to know. I think it would have a positive effect. I think it will have the news is positive. That's what I think. And even if it's not written in the text, I think it's positive for inflows on the P2P side. Okay, let me get a legacy. We have about 15 minutes to go, guys. So we'll round up. Legacy, you've got the floor. Legacy, I've got Legacy, Samuel, Yax, everyone will try to speak. Legacy, please unmute and go ahead and ask. Legacy, Mr. Samuel, please go ahead, sir. Legacy is sorting his mic out. Mr. Samuel Makinde? Samuel Makinde? Okay, I am Eri Olua. I am Eri, hi, go ahead. I'm out 3 for 3. Hey, I hope you guys can hear me. Is it me, Olumide? Is it me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly. Yeah.
So I've called 3 guys. I've got Samuel. Let me get Olajide. Olajide. Mr. Olajide, hi. How you doing? He's gone off. What's happening, man? I've got a gremlin in here real quick. Got to fix that. Yax Mokowa. Yax Mokwa. Yeah, Yax Mokwa. Yep. There we go. Yax Mokwa.
Yeah, sorry, you have to skip me. So sorry.
But why are you guys here? Just drop off. Drop off if you're on the line. That means you want to speak. All right, so let me just drop you. If you're not going to speak, then you just drop off. So that way we don't call you, and then you're not available to speak. Mr. Samuel is ready. Let me see. I am Eriolua. I'm just going to drop you guys off if you're not ready to speak, and then we can go ahead. Peter, you've got the floor. Go ahead. Peter, what the heck is happening? Have they hacked us?
So I think the topic, some are working regulated in Dutch.
Got you. Peter, go for it. We can wind down. When we spend. Yeah, you're sure. You're online. Go ahead and ask.
Listen, I'm looking at it this way. I don't know if you experience. There is something I noticed in South Africa. You can't draw down $1 from your account, right? If you're going to draw down, your drawdown is going to significantly affected by the deduction of tax, and some added value-added tax. So people intend to run, they completely run away from it. So what they do, you bring in the funds, quite all right, but your drawdown is going to be $1. Don't you think that will also help Nigeria if we say? Because one thing I discovered in Nigeria that you have an inflow, you draw down on that currency, which actually has a serious effect on your naira. Why don't you make everything uniform? No problem with inflow, but draw down on dollars, which is what happened across the world.
We have that. All these are administrative measures. They don't change the real story, which is supply. You know, you can make this law, make that law, you know, sign from M, don't sign from M. It doesn't really change the underlying dynamic that there's a supply problem. And once you fix supply, no one cares about whether you're going to sign here or don't sign there. You know, I was on holiday the other day. The guys that do BDCs are the shopkeepers, small SMEs, people that are selling rice. If it's in Nigeria, it will be the buka sellers. Those are their BDCs over there. Because those are the guys that relate to the tourists, not the banks. So if you have dollars, you go to the guys that own a shop. You exchange your dollars for Swiss francs or whatever. Because all the tourists go there. It's nothing to them because there's supply. So why would a bank be in the business of giving you forex? If you want to do a wire, they can do a wire for you immediately, but not this buying and selling. But no, supply is a problem in Nigeria. Once we fix that, I think we're going to be on the right path. We don't have supply because we don't export, and we import too much, and we do a lot of education and healthcare abroad, and all that. So they all add up. So that's the real issue, really, honestly. Olajide, go ahead, Olajide.
And FX, like this year was a shocker for me. From the 3 billion loan I counted about 5 promises that did not happen this year.
Olumide, I saw your tweet. So you mean no promise from the Afri-Exim Bank, from the Indians?
The ones that the minister said weeks to months, I was counting as at least when you say months, I was counting back as June, and I was using different metrics to see, okay, maybe the assumption then be quite conservative. People said I should give till the end of the year, that I will still have 6 days. Okay, I said, okay, maybe some money will come the coming week. But the truth of the matter is that my fear is that next year we have Eurobond obligations.
Principal.
And the dynamic in the oil market, because right now it looks like it's good because of what is happening in the Red Sea. But if you look at Goldman Sachs' forecast for 2024, oil will lose about 10% of their forecast. So they are putting a minimum of about 82. But I'm looking at the fact that definitely oil will be between 65 to 75 based on different investment bankers. If you look at our budget revenue, economists said that for 2024 and 2025, we will use about 2/3 of our revenue for debt servicing. So the question right now is, how does the Apex Bank have ammunition to save the Naira from the instability? Because right now, I'm not even concerned if the Naira is 3,000, 4,000. What a lot of businessmen are concerned is the stability. Because the Naira has been one of the most unstable currency I've seen in modern era. In fact, there was a point Bitcoin was more stable than the Naira, because I was looking at the volatility index of the two currency, and I saw that Bitcoin was even behaving properly. So these are concerns for many businessmen, and the CBN governor Cardoso had been a bit quiet on his approach. Is he going to really? Are we still going to have a float or manage, or we're just going to have a fix? He said market will tap people. The way it looks like it's going to happen in 2024, I don't think we have the luxury to just keep quiet in the market, because the truth of the matter is that the market is drying. If you look at the trading volume, FX trading volume, FMDQ, if you do a moving average, across since June to this, it looks very sloppy. So my concern is that we need FX. How we'll get it, I don't really know. And BlackRock said investors have $4 trillion in their balance sheet, looking for where to put money. Bill Gates that came to Nigeria, they had $66 billion cash and equivalent. So is it that these people don't want to give us money? India that made pledges and this thing, they are investing. So the question right now is, why are they playing Nigeria? Why are we not getting the truth of the matter about the FX? And these are things that really will weigh on 2024.
Good call on
the
the
difficult
good
truth of the matter about FX when we still have the space operating like this. For example, look at 2023 last week is when Nigeria is just giving us regulatory clarity that is not even exact, in the crypto space, and it cannot be exact. Look at how they have not given BDC the autonomy to digitize all of this while. If you want to eradicate the black market. How can you just regulate AppCon and then you're still saying there's still an existing black market? Allow them to digitize their operations. For example, as I speak, I am the official, my company, let me say my company is the official technical partner to the apex body of the BDC in the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Well, how does that influence? How does that, if you digitize?
And what we feel, and the biggest problem is they have done spent hundreds of millions of naira to research, to develop technology, but they are having strict compliance issues.
The question. So
digitize as we speak.
Wait, okay.
So how do we go?
If you hold on, if you digitize, how does that inflow money?
Simple, my brother. Already they have the licenses, right? BTCs. Now, I don't know if I'm supposed to be putting this on here, but let me just say it. I'll be a little bit theoretical and practical. P2P, how does it work? If you want to buy
No. What I'm going to is this, right? The issue is not the framework. The issue is the supply. Nigeria is not investable at the moment. That's the problem. It's not the framework.
Nigerian people are investable.
No.
Trust our government yet. But these policies that they are putting in place.
No, but look, you are mixing these words together. There's dollars in Nigeria. There's 20 billion in Nigeria.
We have two downgrades, Kalu. We have MISC downgrade. We have FCC downgrade. And if you listen to the downgrade, the update was just simple. The reason why they downgraded our capital market, despite the fact it has a 44% year-to-date return, was basically because of the FX market.
True.
Now, we know the liquidity in the Nigerian system is not sustainable because FPIs have not been bringing money. In fact, if you look at FPIs on the NGX, if you do the ratio for every 9 domestic investor, you get one FPI. And that's why Airtel and Zeblas look like they are on a record because investors are using that to move their funds because they are listed. They are listed on the NGX and the London Stock Exchange, so you can move funds away from if you have a sophisticated portfolio manager. Now, my key here is that just like you rightly said, the supply crude oil. If you look at our margin, Nigeria does not earn like the way the Saudis earn. Look at the operating margin. Look at the sharing formula. We do earn like the Saudis or the Arab guys. Now, if you look at remittance again, remittance this year, if you look at it on a scale of disposable income in emerging market, job losses, the United States tech industry alone lost about over 125,000 jobs. If you look at mortgage rates, so are we going to get $22 billion in remittance this year? Well, I'm not, we'll wait until World Bank data come out, but it just tells you that our only option right now is getting, like we said, like from the multinational agencies or the government, but they are not giving us. So I don't feel like when we start hyping the diaspora or saying that funds, the only way funds can come out, that the kind of funds that will make a difference in Nigeria right now are the global bank, and we don't have it.
So long and short, long and short, let me see if I can summarize it. Long and short, if we don't export crude oil in 2024, we're toast. Long and short. Which means that the... Hold up. Which means that we have to focus like a hawk on the exports of crude oil, because that's where the dollars come into Nigeria. That's really it. If we don't export crude oil, we are toast. The remittances might come in and help a lot. But remember, guys, there is dollars already in Nigeria in DOM account, 10 to 20 billion. The issue is not dollars in Nigeria. The issue is dollars in the CBN. And right now, there's no confidence in the international market that the CBN or Nigeria is investable. That's why Olumide is talking about the what should we say, the pledges that have been made have not been redeemed. And it's affecting, we haven't cleared the 7 billion backlog. If we haven't cleared that, how can more money come in? If we digitize or don't digitize, it doesn't change anything. We haven't cleared everything, really. All right, guys, that might be a good...
about how they were treating Emefiele's media, because everybody knows
I think it's a distraction.
Every same person knows that he has blood, or he has death or blood on his hands. Every same person. But you see, if FT can say it's a political revenge, if economists are saying it as, these are people that read Warren Buffett or Biggie does not read channels or RIC.
Just I will say that.
So,
I will say that.
People say that their opinion don't matter. When people say that their opinion matters, because the people that read their article or platform build their perception on that. And that's why I'm concerned that, we need to really position, because everybody's saying the president's reforms is working, which at some point I was in support. But the fear right now is that next year, when we have Eurobond obligation, OPEC has given us a limit. We cannot produce beyond. Cardoso told us that revenue of oil in 2024 will drop. He said it in the Senate. So which magic are we expecting? So what we can only do right now is cut our cord according to our size. We have to reduce spending. That one that we are thinking of dollar increase is fantastic in the air, because if the CBN chief can highlight that, oil theft, OPEC's quota, and the fact that this limit will bring up, then who are we to start be optimistic about foreign remittance bringing in how much do Nigerians that want to bring in? We can't bring in $100 billion like Indians. We can't bring in 50 billion. So let's cut our expectations according to our earning capacity.
Cut our expectations according to our earnings capacity.